Most level 5 train captains focus solely on mining for development. They spend nearly all their time digging, trying their best to quickly upgrade their parts and train level. If they can avoid provoking those bosses, they do. But he always felt that sharpening the axe doesn't delay the woodcutting. He likes hunting down bosses or actively seeking out fortuitous encounters to obtain rarer part blueprints, thereby developing his train in multiple dimensions. What's the point of upgrading a train so high if the foundation isn't solid? It'll still shatter upon impact. For example, the underwater maze encounter in front of this lake is a goal he's been planning for an entire month. Now he's finally ready. Then let's begin. The bald man sat in the cabin, his eyes full of anticipation as he looked at the quiet lake in front of him. He slowly pushed the control lever. The level 5 universal support wheels under the carriage began to roll slowly. These are support wheels. They can't provide much power to the train and are mainly responsible for assisting with turns. Using these wheels as a power source is like a small car pulling a massive truck. But in this case, it's the perfect amount of power to assist the train's entry into the water. After all, he couldn't rely on the propeller wheels to send the train charging straight into the lake. The next moment, with a splash, the train slowly plunged into the lake. The moment it touched the water, a pale blue light shield enveloped the entire train. This is the effect of the deep-sea shield, which helps the train resist water pressure and prevents leaks. At the same time, several propellers under the carriage began to spin. The blinding headlights at the front of the train formed two long beams of light, illuminating the path ahead. The train began to dive, its main target being the flashing coordinates hidden on the control screen. 20 minutes later, the train finally reached the bottom of the lake. A majestic golden palace appeared at the center of the lake bed. Before the palace entrance was a long road, and at the end of that road was a circular archway. There was even a signpost on the road. Above the palace entrance, several giant white, glowing letters floated in the water, underwater maze. The train slowly descended onto the road and followed the path into the palace. Miraculously, even though this palace was deep underwater, there wasn't a single drop of water inside. There was even plenty of oxygen. Immediately after, a line of text appeared on the train's control screen. "Captain, please disembark and choose your maze difficulty." Incredible. A flash of shock crossed the bald man's eyes. This was the first time he had encountered an underwater event like this. He didn't dare hesitate, quickly stepping out of the control room and standing in the palace, which had a ceiling over 10 meters high. The palace was empty and vast. Even the massive train behind him seemed insignificant. The next moment, 5 giant light screens appeared in the air, with another screen appearing above them. "Welcome, Captain of the Tsanglong, to be the first explorer of the underwater maze encounter. Perhaps one day, humanity will scatter among the stars, taking root and sprouting in some corner of the galaxy. But no matter how far we go, the spirit of exploration will forever be etched on the stone tablets of civilization. We move toward the unknown not because it is easy, but because it is hard. True faith isn't believing in inevitable success, but knowing failure is possible and still being willing to give everything for a 1 in a billion miracle. As the first explorer, whether you clear the maze or not, you will receive a consolation prize. If you succeed, a regional broadcast will grant you fame points and additional rewards. Please choose your maze difficulty. Once chosen, it cannot be changed." The bald man looked at the text on the light screen, feeling a bit self-conscious. It turned out he was held in such high regard. The praise actually made him a little embarrassed. Then, he shifted his gaze to the 5 screens displaying the difficulties and their corresponding rewards. S rank, maze difficulty. Your consciousness will descend into a robot's body and appear on a random train. That train's captain will meticulously set up a static maze for you. If you reach the end within half an hour, it counts as a successful clear. Note, the parts and armed personnel on that train cannot attack you. You also cannot attack any parts or personnel. The train's AI will inhabit the robot, providing superior intellect. The robot runs at the speed of an adult male. Additionally, the number of carriages on the train is limited to a maximum of 18. Reward, 30 Mofi stones. A rank, maze difficulty. You will fall into a deep sleep and enter 99 layers of dreamscapes. If you wake up within 24 hours, it counts as a successful clear. Note, If you do not wake up within the time limit, you will be forcibly awakened. Reward, 20 Mofi Stones. B rank, maze difficulty. Your 4 senses will be blocked as you enter the underwater maze with a total of 999 intersections behind the palace. If you reach the end within 6 hours, it counts as a successful clear. Note, the lost senses are shape, pattern, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. Only touch remains. Reward, 10 Mofi Stones. C rank, maze difficulty. Your consciousness will enter a goblin monster and go into an extremely dark place. You need to grope around in the dark to find a pickaxe and an ore vein. Mine 12 units of iron or within 24 hours. Note, if you fail to find, beep, beep, beep. This mission difficulty is currently unavailable. Reward, 5 Mofi Stones. D rank, maze difficulty. You will retain all 5 senses and enter the underwater maze with 999 intersections behind the palace. If you reach the end within 24 hours, it counts as a successful clear. Note, it's recommended to wear a smartwatch. This maze will make your daily step count reach a record high. Reward, 2 Mofi Stones. Heh. The bald man stood by the Tsanglong, looking at the 5 maze difficulties and rewards displayed on the screens above. His attention was immediately captured by those numbers. His chest heaved, and his breathing unconsciously quickened. Greed filled his eyes. I've hit the jackpot this time. He had been through many train encounters and heard that personal encounters rewarded special items, but he had never actually seen one until now. To think he'd stumble upon a personal encounter today, and the reward is precious Mofi Stones. If he can complete the S-rank maze, he'll directly harvest 30 Mofi Stones. He didn't even dare to imagine. If all these Mofi Stones were used on the Tsanglong, how many top-tier parts with super effects could he upgrade? Even the lowest difficulty offers 2 Murphy Stones. Not only that, he's the first train captain to discover this area. That means if he completes the mission smoothly, he can earn fame points and extra rewards through a regional broadcast. He's really hitting the jackpot this time. The bald man carefully examined the 5 maze difficulties. The S-rank difficulty at the top looked incredibly familiar. The S-rank class change mission for the mechanical train was to set up a maze. It turns out the consciousness inside that robot belongs to a real person. So when other trains take on that S-rank mission, is there a real person's consciousness inside the robot too? Or are there other secret realms with similar S-rank maze missions? This mission, despite being S-rank, actually looks like the simplest one. He knew well that many trains had attempted the mechanical train's S-rank class change mission, but none had ever succeeded. He had never seen a mechanical train with S-rank potential on the leaderboards. On the other hand, he had seen a few flesh and blood trains with S-rank potential. In other words, the failure of those other captains was his chance to succeed. Damn it! The bald man's eyes turned bloodshot as greed surged within him. He had wondered why a train that was always ranked below him in terms of super effects suddenly gained 4 or 5 more in the blink of an eye. Could it really be pure dumb luck? Did they stumble upon a miracle like this underwater maze, complete an S-rank mission, and walk away with 30 Murphy Stones? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that was exactly the case. He didn't even bother considering the other difficulties. Not just because they were too hard, but because compared to them, this S-rank mission was simple and the rewards were too generous. Without hesitation, he firmly chose the S-rank maze. Afterward, his gaze turned vacant, and the corners of his mouth curled into a silly grin. 30 Murphy Stones, a regional broadcast, fame points, and extra rewards. This opportunity came at the perfect time. All those months of preparation for this underwater maze were worth it. Everything was worth it. Once the choice was made, the light screens in the palace air slowly faded, finally merging into a single display. The captain of the soaring dragon train has successfully selected the S-rank maze. Immediately after, new lines of text appeared, searching for a corresponding train. Search failed. No train currently available to descend. Distributing special one-time item, consciousness transmitter. When a suitable train is found, the transmitter will emit a piercing whistle and flash a red light. Press the button within 1 hour to transmit your consciousness into the robot's body from anywhere. This will officially start the S-rank maze. Several beams of light then appeared, slowly condensing into a physical object. A device looking like a walkie-talkie dropped straight to the ground. "What the hell are you doing?" The bald man rushed forward, quickly picking up the transmitter. He anxiously checked it several times, and only after confirming it wasn't damaged did he breathe a sigh of relief and mutter, "Take it easy, don't break my stuff. This is my big break." He carried the walkie-talkie back to the control cabin like a precious treasure, fiddling with it at the console for a long time before finally placing it carefully on the desk. Then he spoke aloud. "When this walkie-talkie rings and flashes red, turn the ship's speakers to maximum volume immediately. No matter what I'm doing, sleeping or in the bathroom, wake me up." In the next moment, a mechanical but pleasant voice echoed in the cabin. Command received. Every captain can name their train's AI assistant to help it process commands more accurately. The name he gave his AI was Mother. His mother had passed away after several failed rounds of chemotherapy before the apocalypse began. After finishing the setup, the bald man finally relaxed and leaned back in his chair. He stared expectantly at the walkie-talkie on the table, hoping it would scream at any moment so he could snatch up those nearly free rewards. As for not finding a suitable train to descend upon, that was perfectly normal. The S-rank class change mission for the mechanical train was notoriously difficult, almost impossible for a human to complete. Unless someone was incredibly stubborn, no one would pick that mission. Even with 2 chances to change classes, completing an S-rank mission would require a massive amount of time and resources. In the apocalypse, no one was foolish enough to throw all that into a mission that was nearly impossible. But he wasn't worried, because if there's one thing the world doesn't lack, it's stubborn fools. He believed that sooner or later, a captain would pick that S-rank mission. And when that time came, he would grin wickedly and deliver a blow of pure despair, showing them what reality really looks like. 30 Murphy stones. The bald man looked at the 3D train diagram on the control screen, frowning as he bit his nails. "How should I spend them?" "Maybe 2 stones for the level 3 tripod heavy machine gun. Using Murphy stones on green-grade vehicle parts is the best value. Just 2 stones can net a super effect." He shook his head, dismissing his own thought. "No, that's not right. A single level 5 tripod heavy machine gun won't do much. Not to mention the ammo production line would need another 2 stones. What a headache. I've never been this rich before. Just thinking about it is confusing." He looked up. "Mother, any suggestions?" The AI's voice came through the speakers. "I suggest you think about this after the 30 Murphy stones are actually in your hands." Fine. That's enough from you, Mother. Go play." The next day, I woke up from a deep sleep, stretched long, and looked out the window. The slaves had already gathered outside. The sight made me smile with satisfaction. I had slept very well last night. The train had successfully reached level 3, and I had found a way to complete the S-rank class change mission. My mood was excellent. I glanced at the console. With the iron ore the slaves brought back yesterday, the train now held a total of 196,000 units. Today's task is simple. Craft the necessary level 3 train accessories. If it needs making, make it. If it needs upgrading, upgrade it. 2 words, spend it. These 2 iron mines are almost tapped out. The resource radar shows about 30,000 units left to mine. It's almost time to move out. At a depth of over 5,000 meters, the radar also detected a high-level rare resource, a level 3 Crimson Heart rock mine. It's estimated to hold about 1,800 units. Even though I don't need this resource yet and don't know what it crafts, I've decided to mine it after the iron is gone. Mainly because the quantity is so small. With my current slave force, it'll be done in an hour or 2. I'll knock it out, and then move to another iron mine in the afternoon. Under the Iron Ridge wasteland, iron ore is practically infinite. There's plenty for me to dig up slowly. Having finished my calculations, I looked away from the window toward the cabin door and said casually, "Come in." Very quickly, a young woman carrying a tray carefully pushed the door open and entered. She placed the tray on the console and said softly, "Lord Mang, this is the breakfast the vice captain asked me to prepare for you. From now on, I'll be in charge of bringing you breakfast, lunch, and dinner." I tilted my head to observe her for a moment and said, "You may leave." A few days ago, I told old Zhu to pick 10 women to handle the train's cleaning and to choose one specifically to look after my living quarters and cabin. This woman was the one chosen. She wasn't bad looking. Even without makeup, her skin was quite clear. It was just that her clothes had been washed so many times they looked worn out, which didn't leave a great impression. Yesterday, I tried to trade iron for wood over the train radio, but in the Iron Ridge wasteland, there are only two ways to get wood. The first is to go to the Mo Hills to chop trees. There are many lumber yards there. That area is also part of the Iron Ridge wasteland, but the terrain is too rugged for a train to enter easily. The difficulty and cost are not low. The second way is to find the occasional lone tree or small cluster on the wasteland. Chopping them gets you maybe 100 or 200 wood. It's not much, but it's usually enough. Level 1 and Level 2 trains don't need much wood anyway. For small needs, a few trees on the wasteland suffice. But my needs are quite large. After all, the custom clothing production line needs a lot of wood to make 2 sets of clothes for over 1,000 people. My plan is for every slave and mercenary to have 2 sets, with Level 1 and Level 2 slaves wearing different colors to clearly distinguish their ranks. I also want to add planet train arm patches to make them look more unified and professional. The train radio simply doesn't have enough wood to supply that. Later, I'll steer the train toward the Mo Hills, mining underground iron along the way. After breakfast, I let Li Shurji, who was waiting outside, come in. I leaned back in my chair, lit a cigarette, and frowned at the blueprints Li Shurji handed me. To be honest, my vision is fine, but looking at these drawings made me feel like I had an astigmatism. The blueprint was just a giant rectangle sketched with dashed and solid lines. Inside were various markings, 1, 3, and many more dashed lines. In the bottom right corner was a legend. 1 is a refrigerator, 2 is a mirror, 3 is a speaker, and 4 is profanity. A minute later, I put the blueprint down, looked at the slightly nervous Li Shurji, and said, "Relax. I get the fridge and the mirror, but what's with the profanity?" Li Shurji took a deep breath and explained, "Doesn't that robot we need to beat have superior intelligence? If it has unusual intelligence, it must carry at least some human emotion. And human emotion has many negative aspects that can be exploited. For example, doubt. He said that when the robot reaches a 3-way junction, we can write on the wall that the left path is a dead end. Then we actually make it a dead end by placing an empty refrigerator there, so it can judge it immediately. After doing that a few times, when the robot sees these signs, it will start to doubt itself. Then there's mockery. We can write insults on the walls like, 'I built this maze with my feet, and you find it this hard?' It's meant to mess with its head. When people get frustrated, they lose their rational judgment. If the robot has human-like emotions, it will definitely be affected. And if it has no emotions at all, then the words are just useless and won't hurt anything. It's all gain, no risk." I fell silent, looking back down at the maze sketch. Suddenly, I wondered, am I being a bit too much? Initially, I thought the mechanical train's S-rank class change mission was nearly impossible. But then I remembered I have a level 10 refrigerator, and I realized it might not be so far-fetched. Hearing Li Shurji's ideas today, I even felt that the 30-minute time limit might be a bit too generous. After a moment, I looked up at him and said, "In a few days, I'll build you a new car and 100 refrigerators. You are to build the maze exactly according to this sketch in that car. If you have more ideas in the meantime, feel free to add them." Li Shurji immediately replied that it wouldn't be a problem and left. I narrowed my eyes as I watched him go. Even though this sketch looks complete, it's still just theory on paper. Once the maze is built, I'll have some slaves test it to see how long it takes them to get out. With that thought, I shook my head and turned back to the control panel, preparing to craft the accessories available now that the train is level 3. Just then, outside the train, a crowd of slaves gathered. Old Jew stood under the car, holding a draft with my handwriting. He looked at the crowd and let his voice boom through the train speakers. The following 10 rules are mandatory for all members of the planet train. Violators will be punished. 1. Rape or harassment of any woman, man, goblin, or creature that has joined the train is forbidden. 2. Stealing iron or food from others. 10 lashes and a demotion in status. 3. Fighting. The one who strikes first gets 10 lashes and a demotion. 4. Rioting, inciting rebellion, or unauthorized killing. 6. Hoarding iron, copper, or other resources. 10 lashes and a demotion. 7. Concealing weapons, train orders, or other items while on external missions. 8. Leaking any confidential train information. 9. Unauthorized desertion. 10. Strictly obey all orders from Captain Chin Mang. Those who refuse. After old Zhu finished reading the 10 rules of the planet train that I had issued, he tucked the paper away. With a stoic expression, he looked at the slaves and said, "Now that you've memorized the rules, get to mining." He then handed the draft to a woman standing nearby. "Make 4 copies. Paste 1 in each slave car." "Understood." "Yes, sir." With these 10 rules, or rather, 10 laws, the planet train finally felt a bit more official. In a chaotic apocalypse without laws, adding a layer of rules might feel like a constraint, but the sense of security it brings is even more apparent. "This is great." Biaozi grinned as he watched everything unfold, his eyes full of satisfaction. He had personally witnessed the planet train grow from a single car to its current scale of 11 cars and over 1,000 slaves. And it was already a level 3 train. "Oh, right," old Zhu said, stopping Biaozi as he was about to go on patrol. "Lord Mang is planning a major reorganization of the train soon. He told me about it. We'll need 2 more mercenary teams. You're Team 1. Later, there will be Team 2 and Team 3. Each team will have 10 people, including the captain. Your current manpower is almost stretched thin. With over 1,000 slaves, there's a lot of work every day. Lord Mang wants you to pick some people from the slaves." Biaozi frowned in thought for a moment, then looked toward a woman with bulging muscles among the slaves in the distance. He asked hesitantly, "Are female mercenaries okay?" "You mean her?" "She's not out of the question, but find a few backups just in case Lord Mang doesn't approve." "Uncle Li, would someone really rape a goblin?" Among the slaves heading to the mine, a young man with a pickaxe on his shoulder looked at the goblins also heading toward the distant iron mine. He shrugged and said, "I'm just impressed. I never thought the first time I'd see a law against raping men would be in the apocalypse. It does sound absurd." Uncle Li narrowed his eyes and said nothing. A new plan seemed to be forming in his mind. The most important information in these 10 rules was the demotion in status. Currently, the train only has 3 levels of status: Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 slaves. The mercenaries haven't been categorized yet. Even Li Shiji, who stands out because of his expertise, only enjoys Level 1 slave status. Lord Mang can't let Level 1 status be the ceiling, nor can he continue without distinguishing the mercenary's status. From the leaked info, Uncle Li vaguely guessed that Lord Mang would likely conduct a major overhaul. The focus would be on widening the status gap and clearly defining what level everyone belongs to. That also meant that if he played his cards right, he could take a step up during this reorganization. "Uncle Li, what are you daydreaming about?" The young man, seeing Uncle Li hadn't answered, leaned in curiously. Uncle Li glanced at him, his voice annoyed. "I've come up with a new plan. Just wait patiently." Initially, when this young man started talking to him, Uncle Li thought about making him a confidant. But looking at him now, he began to wonder if he had picked the wrong person. What a pain. "Awesome." The young man nodded happily and gave a thumbs up. "Go for it, Uncle Li. I know you're the best." Back on the planet train, I had finished my chores and was sitting alone in the control cabin. I looked at the 196,000 units of iron ore in storage and immediately began high-speed crafting. First were the 4 mandatory accessories: mechanical nanospiders, combat virtual space, internal space stabilizer, and the exoskeleton production line. It cost 4,000 units of iron, and I crafted them all. The mechanical nanospider looked like a large steel mother spider about the size of a fist. It took up very little space and looked like a finely crafted souvenir. It was connected directly to the train's AI. The AI would check the damage level of accessories and then command the mother spider to produce the necessary number of nanospiders to perform repairs. I spent another 45,000 units of iron to upgrade it straight to level 10. Gold-grade accessories cost more to upgrade. Each level requires an additional 1,000 iron. The upgrade effect for this accessory is that each level allows it to repair higher-level items. For example, level 3 nanospiders can only fix level 3 damage, while level 10 nanospiders can repair level 10 damage. Additionally, I gained 2 super effects. The level 5 super effect increases repair speed, and the level 10 super effect allows for the simultaneous production of a larger number of nanospiders. These 2 super effects are very practical. Normally, they aren't that noticeable. Being a bit slow is fine, but in combat, their value becomes immense. Producing nanospiders consumes iron. I looked at the control screen. Living car number 4 was at 62% integrity, and the soda production line was at 78%. I said, repair all damaged accessories in the train to 100% integrity. Understood. The clear mechanical voice of the AI quickly echoed in the cabin. Total cost, 3,800 units of iron. Proceed with repairs. Proceed. In the next moment, the steel spider on the console slightly lifted its abdomen. Immediately, countless tiny mechanical nanospiders crawled out of the tubes. A black mass flowed out of the cabin door. Normal mechanical spiders were already small and almost cute, but these nanospiders were about 1/20th their size. About 3 minutes later, I checked the screen again and saw that all accessories were back to perfect condition. I raised an eyebrow. This accessory is incredibly useful. Most importantly, it saves money. Replacing those damaged parts would have cost at least tens of thousands of iron. Repairing them only took 3,800 units. The amount of iron consumed varies based on the grade, level, and extent of damage. This accessory is compact, so I just left it on the desk next to the console. It works as a decoration. It actually looks quite nice. Looking down, I saw the instant self-destruct and instant release buttons on the console. The self-destruct button was protected by a plastic cover to prevent accidental presses, and the instant release button, which previously had nothing, now had a cover too. This was a feature I found in the personal customization menu that opened after the train hit level 3. You can add fingerprint lock protective covers to any button on the console for 100 units of iron. No reason not to install them. Plus, they don't require the complex confirmation process of the self-destruct button. Then I turned my attention to the combat virtual space. This accessory was placed in mercenary car number 5. I immediately got up and left the cabin, heading straight to that car to experience it for myself. Biao Zi and the others were outside on patrol, supervising the slaves. In the car, only Chu Soso and a few minor starlets were laughing and playing. When they saw me enter, their smiles vanished instantly. They lined up somewhat fearfully and said softly, "Lord Mang." I nodded, not looking at them, my eyes fixed on the machine in front of me. It was a device similar to a medical pod, with a leather sofa inside and a glass lid on top. When the user lies down, several wires with suction cups attached to the head, projecting their consciousness into a virtual space. At the same time, the pod is filled with nutrient solution to maintain the body's state. After observing for a while, I stripped down and lay naked in the combat virtual space pod. As the nutrient solution filled the chamber, my consciousness was pulled into another realm. It was a completely white space, about 10 square meters. Without the faint borders, it would have been hard to tell its size. I looked down at my arms, gave them a little shake, and surprise flashed in my eyes. This didn't just feel realistic. It felt like reality. Every movement was identical to real life, and my naked skin felt exactly as it should. I tapped my left arm and felt a dull ache. However, I wasn't actually naked. I was wearing simple white clothes. Not bad. I threw a few punches into the air, satisfied. Before I crossed over, I really wanted to experience a VR world like in novels. I didn't expect that something I never got to try in my old world would be felt here. Before my eyes, control windows popped up one by one. This space is the combat virtual space. Any injury, or even death here will not affect your physical body outside. The pain setting cannot be adjusted. It remains at 100%, identical to reality. There are 2 modes, solo training and linked training. Solo training allows you to choose categories like climbing, daggers, or hand-to-hand combat. There's also a mission training mode where you can set the number of enemies, map, weapons, and mission type. Linked training allows for duels or teaming up with other users in this space. After reaching level 5, you can even engage in ranked matches against users from other trains. Rankings are based on level, and a high rank will increase the train's fame points. I raised an eyebrow, a smile playing on my lips. Taking a deep breath, my body tensed up. I chose solo training's mission mode, set the map to Ruined City, 10 enemies all armed with guns, and my objective: eliminate them all using only a dagger. The modern city had turned to ruins, with heavy rain and wind sweeping across the night sky. In a collapsed three-story building, I lay flat on the rooftop, perfectly still. My eyes were locked on the 10 armed enemies patrolling below in front of a nearby office building. I gripped my dagger, patiently waiting for the right moment. Just then, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky. In that split second of light, I made my move. I lunged forward like a rattlesnake, grabbing the cable of a nearby crane. I planned to swing down like a jungle man and land behind the 10 enemies to begin the assassination. However, as soon as I left the roof's edge, I saw all 10 gun barrels already pointed straight at me. Gunfire erupted through the rainy night. I immediately returned to the white space, gasping for air as I looked down at my stomach. The bullet holes from a moment ago were just an illusion. My body was unharmed. Only the stinging pain lingered in my mind. This was the first time I had truly felt the sensation of bullets tearing through my body. It hurt quite a bit, and that feeling of despair right before death was terrifyingly real. The mission was a failure, obviously. I shook my head and laughed. In reality, I would never choose such a stupid way to assassinate someone. But knowing this was virtual, I couldn't help but try to imitate the assassins from the games in my past life. The idea was beautiful. If I could perfectly execute the movements in my head, it would have looked incredibly cool. Heavy rain, a ruined city, lightning flashing, and a demonic shadow dropping behind 10 enemies to start a massacre. By the time the thunder rolled, the enemies would be dead in pools of blood, leaving only the silhouette of a man with a dagger, walking away with steady steps as blood mixed with the rain at his feet. Very cool. I narrowed my eyes, and another possibility flashed in my mind. The ruined city, the howling wind and rain. No neon lights. Only a crescent moon hidden by dark clouds as the sole light source. This time, I chose the rooftop of the office building as my spawn point. I stood at the very edge, leaning over to look at the 10 enemies guarding the entrance. Letting the rain lash against me, I muttered, "This is gonna hurt." It's 36 stories up, but who could turn down a leap of faith? I took a deep breath, stood fully on the edge, and pulled my hood down. You can choose any outfit you want in the virtual space. I turned around, vanishing into the shadows like a ghost. I spread my arms and let my body fall straight back. A few seconds later, a dull thud echoed through the rainy night. I returned to the white space, my body aching, but when I saw the mission summary, I couldn't help but smirk. Not bad. I took out one enemy. Before the leap of faith, even enemies with superior firepower couldn't stop my assassination. I had gained a new level of understanding of the path of an assassin. After that, I kept trying different playstyles on the map. The more I played, the more hooked I got. It was a blast. But then, I started getting interested in the linked mode. Just then, a voice called out from outside. "Biaozi, Lord Mang wants you in mercenary car number 5. Did he say why? Yeah, said he wants to spar with you." Biaozi, who was on patrol, froze. His eyes went blank as he muttered, "Spar how? Is Lord Mang gonna use a dragon assault rifle while I'm empty-handed? I think I can see my grandmother waving at me from the afterlife." Old Zhu reassured him, telling him not to overthink it. Lord Mang sounded happy. It's probably a good thing. Biaozi nervously entered car number 5. Chu Soso was nowhere to be seen. I was alone in the car. He whispered, "Lord Mang, you called for me?" I waved him over and pointed at the 2 virtual training pods on the floor. I smiled and said, "These are some good things I just made. Like a virtual game. We can link up and fight. Injuries in there don't carry over to reality. Playing alone is boring. Let's practice together." Biaozi was stunned. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up." Soon, in the white spaces arena, Biaozi stood with a dagger facing me, also armed with a dagger. His voice trembled slightly. Lord Mang, do I really have to fight? For real." I crouched slightly, my eyes locked on his dagger. "Beat me, and you're the captain of Team 1. Lose, and you're demoted to Team 2. Hearing that, Biaozi's expression turned dead serious. A fierce glint appeared in his eyes. Then, "Forgive me, Lord Mang." A 3-second countdown began. 3, 2, 1. When the numbers vanished, we both regained control of our bodies and lunged at each other simultaneously. In the next instant, we collided. No fancy moves, no martial arts styles, just pure killing intent and raw combat instinct. You stab me, I stab you back. It was extreme in its simplicity. 30 seconds later, covered in wounds, I pulled my blood-stained finger out of Biao Zi's eye socket. I stumbled to my feet, my mouth twitching into a difficult, toothy grin. That was rough. A flash of white light followed, and all my injuries vanished from the arena. I reappeared in the white space, but this time Biao Zi was standing right next to me. Lord Meng, that hurt so much. His eyes were full of helplessness. I was so close to winning. Let me try again. I missed your vitals just now, and then you gouged my eye out. This time, let me gouge yours. I was holding back before. Let's go. Back in the arena, as the countdown ended, we clashed again. Screams of agony tore through the space. Then Biao Zi was seen lying on the floor, frantically stabbing his own neck with his dagger. A few seconds later, he turned into white light and vanished. In the white space, Biao Zi looked at the control panel in front of him and realized his mental state was on the verge of collapse. Do you wish to remove pain and pain-induced hallucinations to avoid trauma? Confirm. A few seconds later, he gradually calmed down and let out a long sigh of relief, then looked at me with a terrified gaze. Lord Meng, that hurts too much. Can we stop now? Hey, I said, feeling a bit unsatisfied as I patted his shoulder. Fine, we'll stop. Have you never been in a fight? In a fight, you always prioritize the weak spots. Well, we usually don't crush balls or gouge eyes. I guess I went a bit overboard. All right, I waved him off. You're still Team 1 captain. Over the next few days, pick 20 more mercenaries for me. I'll build 8 more virtual training pods later. From now on, 2 teams will patrol and supervise, while the other team trains in the car. Leaving the virtual space, I glanced around car number 5. For the mercenaries' car, I spent 4,500 units of iron to craft a level 10 refrigerator. I placed the 2 virtual training pods inside it, then crafted 8 more and put them in there too. Although the virtual space doesn't directly increase physical strength, it can significantly improve combat experience. Pain tolerance, experience in various terrains, and team coordination. This is a very useful accessory. Then I spent another 45,000 units of iron to upgrade one of these pods to level 10. The upgrade effect increases the quality of the nutrient solution and extends the usage time. A level 1 virtual training pod can be used for about 5 hours continuously. Level 5 is 9 hours, and level 10 can go for 14 hours. At the same time, I received 2 super effects. The level 5 super effect allows for linked combat with other trains and ranked matches, only with users of the same train provider. The level 10 super effect makes it so that training in the virtual space can actually enhance your real-world physical strength. I looked at these 2 effects and laughed. Both are very powerful. The first one lets me compete in ranked matches against other level 3 train users who have this pod. A fair arena. Climbing the ranks will increase the train's fame points. I had learned about fame points through the train's AI. Whether it's regional announcements or climbing the leaderboards, everything increases fame. I had received a regional announcement when I killed those first 2 rabbit bosses, but the fame points weren't displayed back then. These points only show up when the train reaches level 4. All previously accumulated points are hidden and only revealed upon upgrading, which also activates corresponding effects. The second super effect, however, is truly insane. I originally thought the virtual space only improved combat experience. I didn't expect it to enhance actual physical strength. This will massively boost the individual combat capabilities of my mercenaries. I like it. Gold-grade accessories can normally only be upgraded to level 5, so the first super effect is something anyone can reach. But the second one isn't easy. It requires Murphy stones. Most importantly, I found my expression becoming strange. Not every accessory has a super effect, and not every super effect is powerful. I can totally imagine the scene. If someone threw 2 Murphy stones into a green-grade accessory, like a blueprint, and eagerly waited for the level 5 super effect to appear, only to see the word none pop up, how would they feel? They'd probably be so pissed they'd smash the blueprint on the spot. Who could handle that? I looked at the train's control panel. There were 92,000 units of iron left. Without hesitation, I spent another 45,000 units to upgrade the internal space stabilizer to level 10. Every car, including the control room, was equipped with one. It's tiny, looking exactly like a water level meter. Its job is to keep the entire car stable and quiet even if the train is in an abnormal state, like being tilted. It's pure black technology. Honestly, this accessory is powerful even at level 1. Even if the train spins 360 degrees, the interior remains unaffected. Upgrading to level 10 doesn't change the basic performance, but it unlocks 2 special super effects. The level 5 super effect ensures that even during maximum acceleration or high-altitude freefall, everyone inside remains unaffected. The level 10 super effect is even more dominant. When the train is in a vacuum environment, all objects and people inside maintain a normal state. These effects are strong, but I know I won't have a chance to use them anytime soon. Maximum acceleration is still a distant concept for my train, and going into a vacuum is out of the question. I just laughed it off, consider it a luxury for later. Checking the iron again, only about 44,000 units remained. I was almost tapped out. I decided to keep this amount for emergencies. Once these 2 current mines are finished, I'll pull out. 2 hours later, the slaves began returning to the cars in an orderly fashion, bringing back a total of 30,000 units of iron. The 2 level 2 iron mines were completely depleted. Immediately, with the heavy roar of the engine, the planet train drilled deep into the earth, heading straight for the level 3 Crimson Heart rock mine. 2 more hours passed, and the Crimson Heart rock mine was also emptied, yielding 1,800 units of level 3 Crimson Heart rock. Each unit of level 3 Crimson Heart rock is equivalent to 100 level 1 units. That means I just hauled in the equivalent of 180,000 units or in a very short time. The planet train drilled back to the surface, switched to windfire wheels, and sped toward the Mo Hills. I looked at the 180,000 units of Crimson Heart rock on the screen and couldn't help but marvel. Level 3 mines are amazing. The profit is just too high. If I could find a level 3 iron mine, that would be perfect. 20 minutes passed, and I frowned as the resource radar still hadn't beeped. It wasn't that it wasn't working, it just hadn't found any high-level mines. Along the way, I detected a level 1 iron mine about 800 meters deep, but I didn't stop. With the time it takes to mine a level 1 site, I'd rather spend it looking for level 2 mines. I stopped the train on the plains and stepped out of the control room alone. I lit 3 cigarettes, stuck them in the ground, and waited patiently for them to burn out. Then I looked up at the cloudless sky and muttered, "God, can you bless me with a level 3 iron mine?" Theoretically, the Iron Ridge Wasteland should be capable of producing level 3 iron. If level 3 Crimson Heart rock exists, then level 3 iron shouldn't be that rare. I just haven't found it yet. After doing that, I returned to the control room and continued driving the planet train across the distance. Thinking for a moment, I realized I had forgotten to burn incense for Lord June. Even though there was some bad blood between us when he was alive, after his death, Lord June helped me quite a bit. He gave me slaves, blueprints, and even startup resources. He was truly a benefactor. Without him, my startup journey would have been much harder. I'm a person who remembers favors. I shouldn't have forgotten the incense. Well, I'll skip it this time and make it up later. Half an hour later, the resource radar finally went beep beep. In a cave about 300 meters underground, a level 2 iron mine appeared. It's estimated to yield about 150,000 units. I looked at the data and nodded. Level 2 iron is good enough. The drill at the front of the planet train spun at high speed. Amidst the deafening roar, the train plunged into the earth, quickly entering the cave. Once the train stabilized, the oxygen generator started up. The slaves, urged by the mercenaries, left the cars and entered the mine, raising their pickaxes to continue the work. The rhythmic sound of pickaxes hitting iron echoed through the cave. In the control room, I looked at the last mandatory accessory to be crafted, the personal exoskeleton production line. With the 30,000 units of iron just added, the total iron reached 73,000. It wasn't so tight anymore. I spent another 45,000 units to upgrade this line to level 10. I placed it in car number 2. This car is where I keep all the production lines, from pickaxes to similar equipment. Everything is concentrated here. The upgrade effect for the personal exoskeleton production line is the ability to craft higher-level exoskeletons. A level 1 exoskeleton increases overall physical stats by about 1.1 times, while level 10 can reach 2.0 times, effectively doubling them. This is already an exaggerated number, but the actual effect still depends on the base physical condition. Someone already in good shape will become significantly stronger with an exoskeleton, while those who are weak, well, their bodies are already poor, so even doubling it won't create a massive change. More importantly, level 1 and level 10 exoskeletons cost the same, 40,000 units of iron per set. After reaching level 10, the line unlocked 2 more super effects. The level 5 super effect allows the exoskeleton to slowly self-repair after being damaged. The level 10 super effect cuts the crafting resources in half. These effects aren't exactly powerful, but they aren't weak either, they're just okay. The first effect is mainly useful in combat. In normal conditions, the nanospiders can fix it, or you can just wait for it to recover if you're not in a rush. The second effect sounds attractive, but its actual impact is limited. The base price of an exoskeleton is already high at 40,000 iron. Even halved, it's still 20,000 units per set. However, this thing isn't just for mercenaries, it can be used for slaves too. If every slave had an exoskeleton, labor efficiency would surely double. It's just too expensive. At 20,000 a set, 1,000 slaves would need 20 million units of iron. Thinking of that, I immediately dropped the idea. If I really had that much iron, why would I even need to think? I'd just charge straight up Kunlun Mountain, slaughter everything in sight, and wipe out every monster in the region. Besides, I've realized that the current number of slaves and their efficiency is enough. 1,000 slaves perfectly meet my needs. After all, once I enter higher level areas, I'll definitely find level 3 iron mines. With a level 3 mine, 1,000 slaves could finish it in a day or two, but the yield would be many times higher than level 2 iron. So, the number of slaves isn't the issue. The real challenge is finding higher level mines and mining them smoothly. I stepped up to the production line. A probe extended, quickly scanning my body from top to bottom several times to record all my data. After spending 20,000 units of iron, a personal exoskeleton perfectly fitted to my frame was finished. Overall, it looked like the skeleton of a medical school specimen, except it was pitch black and made of steel. I wore the steel exoskeleton over my skin like clothes. It was very light, with no sense of weight at all. It almost merged with my body, as if I had grown extra bones. I tested a punch, and a faint sonic boom echoed in the air. Surprise flashed in my eyes. This thing's effect is truly excellent. Most importantly, it doesn't feel heavy like power armor, and it doesn't hinder movement at all. If worn under clothes, you wouldn't even notice it from the outside. Plus, it doesn't need any energy stones. The exoskeleton itself enhances physical strength. Of course, compared to power armor, the exoskeleton still has some drawbacks, like the inability to mount heavy firepower like handheld Gatling guns or shoulder-mounted rockets. But that's not a big deal. If I really need that kind of firepower, my train isn't just for show. By now, I've upgraded all 4 mandatory level 3 accessories to level 10. My resource reserves are almost empty again. I lean back in my chair, watching the slaves working outside the window. After mining for the rest of today, and one more day, this iron mine will be tapped out. Then I can continue looking for the next one. I looked up at the underground river map of the Iron Ridge wasteland on the screen and smiled. I can't drive the planet train to measure every inch of the wasteland. It's too big and a waste of time. When I went to the ruins of Taiping City, I gathered a lot of materials from the library. Among them was a map of the underground rivers in the Iron Ridge wasteland. The iron mine I'm currently mining is also located in a deep underground cave. After several underground mining trips, I found that iron almost exclusively appears in caves. With this map, I don't have to search blindly anymore. By following the underground rivers, I can basically find 70% of the deep underground mines in the Iron Ridge wasteland. As for the other 30%, well, one shouldn't be too greedy. Tonight, I plan to build another virtual training pod right in the control room. It's quite fun. What interests me most isn't fighting others or ranked matches. Those are a bit dull to me. I'm more interested in the solo mission modes, especially the feeling of being an assassin. This was the second time I successfully assassinated a target, and I even used a high-level method like the leap of faith. After a few more tries, I'm sure I'll reach perfection, clearing it without taking a single hit. What's your name? Biaozi approached the muscular woman digging ore and asked coldly. Seeing Biaozi calling her, the woman looked a bit awkward and replied softly, My name is Zhang San. Zhang San. Biaozi frowned, his voice suspicious. Do you happen to have a brother named Li Si? I'm asking for your real name. My real name is Zhang San. The woman explained quickly. I have 2 older brothers. The eldest is Zhang Yi, and the second is Zhang Er. It's just that we were all in Taiping City, and after the apocalypse hit, we lost touch. We're separated now. They're probably dead. My brothers were very strong. Stronger than you. Stronger. The woman thought for a moment and added, they once lifted a treadmill in the gym and ran several laps with it on their backs. They were very impressive, just a bit simple-minded. She hesitated before asking, did I do something wrong? Lord Mang needs to recruit more mercenaries. I've got my eye on you. A mercenary? The woman was stunned, then asked cautiously, Brother Biao, I know slaves can buy men with the ore they mine. How do mercenaries buy men? With work time and contribution points. If you do well, Lord Mang will reward you. Biaozi continued, follow me for now. Let's see what you're made of. Strength alone isn't enough. Mercenaries have to go on external missions, fight monsters. You need a stable mind and combat skills. Biaozi said no more and walked straight toward car number 5, the mercenary car. Zhang Sen followed silently. It must be said, the virtual training space is a great thing. Here, you can go all out in a life or death struggle, which gives a direct look at a person's combat power and potential when facing death. Even though this woman is incredibly muscular and strong, being a mercenary requires more than just power. If she freezes at the sight of blood, she's definitely not fit. In the white space, on the arena floor, Biaozi stood stone-faced with a dagger, facing Zhang San, who stood like a mountain. When the countdown ended, the battle began. The fight ends when one person dies. Injuries here won't carry outside. Use all your best tricks. He added, remember, I won't go easy on you just because you're a woman. I hope you won't hold back just because I'm a mercenary. Mercy will only get you killed faster. In the next instant, the countdown hit 0. The two lunged at each other simultaneously. It wasn't a duel, it was a mutual stabbing. 30 seconds later, Zhang San returned to the white space, her eyes full of shock as she looked at Biaozi. I lost. Brother Biao, you're the strongest man I've ever met. I crushed your eggs, and you still managed to endure the pain and stab me in the neck. I respect you. The 6-foot-tall, muscular woman looked at Biaozi with eyes that were practically glowing. Initially, she feared Biaozi because of his status. He was a mercenary, and she was just a slave. She didn't dare act out. But now, what she respected was his strength. This man was truly impressive. Biaozi said nothing, just silently looked down at his pants, his face expressionless. That's the second time today, isn't it? Little brother, you've suffered following me. It's my fault. But he had to admit, this virtual training space really could train a person's pain tolerance. The first time Lord Mang crushed them, he felt like he was going insane. But the second time, he could actually stab his opponent's neck before dying of pain. Thinking of this, he felt a bit of self-admiration. His progress wasn't slow. A moment later, Biaozi sighed softly. Keep mining for the next few days. I've remembered your name. When we expand the mercenaries, I'll submit your info. Lord Fong. Lord Fong. Lord Fong. Stop calling me Lord Fong. You two are the lords. Can I call you Lord instead? On the Iron Ridge wasteland, inside a speeding train, a man stood in the control room, shouting at the two hulking men in front of him, spit flying everywhere. Last time I told you to go to Taiping City for supplies, and you ended up in a gym and cleared out all the fitness equipment. Your ancestors. You're strong, sure, but that pile of gym equipment is still sitting in the train. I can't sell it. Who am I supposed to sell it to? Tell me. It's the apocalypse. Who's buying that stuff? Or do you want to go rob some protein powder too? Lord Fong. The hulking man on the left muttered. We looked. There was no protein powder left in the gym. It was all gone. Damn it. The man almost choked, taking a deep breath to calm down. Fine. Let's not talk about protein powder for now. Let's just forget that damn gym. He looked at the two, his voice dropping. Now let's talk business. This time I sent you to Taiping City for supplies. What did I tell you before you left? Repeat it to me." The man on the left didn't have to think. "Only look for survivors, food, cigarettes, and alcohol." The man nodded emphatically, then pointed straight at the treadmill next to the control room. He practically roared. "Then what the hell is that thing you brought back? Why is it another damn treadmill? Don't you remember? I said survivors, food, cigarettes, and alcohol." "Well, Lord Fong," the man on the right said timidly, sounding a bit hurt. "But we didn't find any survivors, food, or alcohol. So you brought back a damn treadmill again? It was the only thing there. We thought we shouldn't come back empty-handed, so we brought it." "Huh." Lord Fong slumped into his chair, unable to stop himself from laughing out of pure rage. Indeed, when you're pushed to the limit of anger, you just laugh. He really didn't know what to say anymore. These two brothers were clearly missing something upstairs, but they were incredibly obedient. So no matter how angry he got, he could only scold them. He couldn't actually do anything to these two treasures. Besides, other than their supply runs never satisfying him, they were perfect in every other way. He took a deep breath, trying his best to stay calm. After a long while, he said softly, "Look, promise me. Next time, don't bring a treadmill back, okay? Let's try something else." The two brothers looked at each other and nodded very seriously. Then they whispered, Lord Fong, can we eat now?" The man nodded blankly. "Eat? How could I let you two lords go hungry? I'm sorry, okay." Night fell quickly. On the planet train, I checked the console. With the iron mine this afternoon, the total reached 48,000 units. After one more day of mining, this level 2 iron mine will be finished. I looked at the 5 remaining optional accessories: central air conditioning, storage box, permanent shock absorber, medical pod, and one unknown accessory. I immediately spent 3,000 units of iron to craft the central air conditioning, permanent shock absorber, and medical pod. All 3 are gold-grade vehicle accessories. I've only crafted them for now, not upgraded them, because I don't have enough iron. I can't make the storage box yet. It needs wood, and I don't have any. Upgrading those 3 to level 10 would cost 45,000 units each, which is exactly what I have left. But I have to keep that for the slaves' meals tonight and tomorrow morning. I'll upgrade them tomorrow once I have more iron. I spent another 1,000 units of iron to craft a virtual training pod for myself, placing it right in the control room. Then I stripped and climbed in. Actually, wearing clothes is fine, but they get wet and need drying, which is a hassle. The nutrient solution in the training pod looks viscous, but it doesn't stick to the skin at all. It's like clear water. When I climb out, my skin feels even cleaner, like I've had a full-body salt scrub. The familiar white space appeared before my eyes. I held my dagger, standing on the rooftop of an office building, watching the enemies patrolling the entrance. Before dark, playing a few rounds of Leap of Faith is actually quite fun. Time passed slowly. By the evening of the next day, the iron mine was completely depleted. The total iron on the train rose to 147,000 units. On the plains, under a starry sky, the planet train switched back to windfire wheels. It began speeding along the underground river path, continuing the search for mines in the Iron Ridge wasteland. About an hour later, when we were 30 minutes from the Mo Hills, the radar finally went off, and it was a big one. Hit the jackpot. I narrowed my eyes at the resource radar. It showed 3 level 2 iron mines clustered together in a deep underground cave 8,000 meters down, with a level 2 copper mine right next to them. I couldn't help but smirk. This is a massive haul. I immediately stopped the train to rest. We won't go underground tonight. Tomorrow is soon enough. Even with oxygen generators down there, it's not as comfortable as breathing the fresh air of the plains. It feels like freedom. In the Iron Ridge wasteland, almost no one can pressure me. If a level 3 boss attacks at night, it's just delivering a blueprint. If a level 3 train attacks, I'd actually love to see it. So far, I've only heard about level 3 trains over the radio. I haven't seen another one with my own eyes. I wonder how they compare to my level 3 train. When the sun rose over the Iron Ridge wasteland, the planet train had vanished from the surface and reappeared in the cave by the underground river, 8,000 meters deep. The slaves had already lined up for food, ready to start work. The headlights and oxygen generators were all running. I stood by the car window, looking at the 3 connected level 2 iron mines in the distance and laughed. With this batch of iron, I can basically finish upgrading all the remaining level 3 accessories. Then I'll upgrade the armor to level 6, craft 100 more refrigerators, and tap out the underground ore of the Iron Ridge Wasteland. By then, it'll be about time to leave the Iron Ridge Wasteland. I'll head into the green zone to complete the class change mission, then upgrade to a level 4 train. Everything is going very well. Once this batch is mined, I'll head to the Mo Hills to find some level 2 wood. By then, the train won't lack anything. I'll have almost whatever I want. After that, I'll go straight to the Kunlun Mountain area and slaughter every monster there. If I see one, I kill one. In the cave by the underground river, the planet train sat silently to one side. Several headlights illuminated the entire cave, making everything clear. The oxygen generator constantly consumed energy to maintain the air supply. After washing up and eating breakfast, I lay in the virtual training pod in the control room, starting my daily solo mission training. This is my new toy, and it works quite well. Earlier, I spent 45,000 units of iron to upgrade the virtual training space to level 10, unlocking 2 special super effects. Among them, the level 10 super effect allows training in the virtual space to directly enhance my real-world physical strength. Of course, human physical potential has limits. You can't just train yourself into a Superman here. But through systematic training, goals like becoming a parkour master or a dagger expert are perfectly achievable. 3 hours later, I started getting a bit bored and left the virtual space. I stretched and walked toward car number 2, where the production lines are. Among them is the pickaxe production line. Before mining the Crimson Heart rock, I had upgraded it to level 3 to ensure it could mine level 3 ore. The cost to craft a level 1 pickaxe is 1 unit of iron, level 2 is 10 units, and level 3 is 100 units. Now, I spent another 4,100 units of iron to upgrade the pickaxe line straight to level 10. Now, the line can produce level 10 pickaxes. The price for a level 10 pickaxe is 1 billion units of iron. That number made me sigh. Level 10 pickaxes are for level 10 mines. They also have 2 super effects, but both the level 5 and level 10 effects are none. I once tried using the drill to mine. With its ability to grind diamonds to dust, the iron ore was indeed pulverized. The technical test was a success. The cauliflower-like iron ore was drilled into powder, but not a single unit of ore was actually harvested. Later, I tried attaching pickaxes to the wheels to create a simple auto miner, but that failed too. Pickaxes only work when held directly by a slave. This is a fundamental rule of this world. I walked along the production lines, calculating the preparations for the level 4 train upgrade. Quickly, 10 days passed. The 3 level 2 iron mines and the level 2 copper mine were completely depleted. On the console, the total resources were now 3,654,000 units of iron and 231,000 units of copper. Still not enough. Must keep going. I narrowed my eyes at the iron count. I need more. Under my command, the planet train immediately left the cave and headed along the underground river toward the Mo Plateau. Half an hour later, the train arrived. I stood in the control room looking out the window. The ground in the distance rolled like waves, only frozen solid. Terrain like this would be nearly impassable without special wheels, but for me, it's no problem. I switched to spider leg wheels, then spent 4,400 units of iron to upgrade the axe production line to level 10. The line can now produce up to level 10 axes, though the price is still 1 billion iron, and the 2 super effects are also none. I spent 10,000 iron to produce 1,000 axes, and the resource radar quickly found 2 adjacent forests deep in the Mo Plateau. I looked out the window. Lush green trees were everywhere. The environment looked much more vibrant than the plains. The slaves immediately took their axes and entered the forest to begin logging. 2 days later, both forests were cleared, yielding a total of 230,000 units of wood. That's enough. Currently, the train has no projects requiring massive amounts of wood. This will last me a long time. Without delay, I steered the planet train back along the underground river. Detected a level 2 resource mine at 2,000 meters. Detected 2 level 3 resource mines at 1,000 meters. Mined them all. Time passed so quickly it even surprised me. In the control room, I sat in my chair, using a manual razor to clean up my stubble. After I finished, I set the razor aside. The girl holding the basin of clean water understood and stepped forward, helping me wipe away the stray hairs. I looked in the mirror and saw I was much neater. I let out a satisfied breath. By now, it had been exactly 37 days since I left the Mo Plateau. In these 37 days, I had done almost only one thing. Following the underground river path, I had mined almost the entire Iron Ridge wasteland. Every day there was, or to dig. The slaves hadn't taken a single day off. It's no exaggeration to say I've mined nearly every mine under the Iron Ridge wasteland. Perhaps beyond the river path, deeper underground, there are more, or some deeper than 10,000 meters. But I have no intention of looking further. Efficiency is no longer high. Even though I can drive the train through the earth to expand the search, it's still much slower than moving on the surface. Adding up the accumulated or from previous days, the resources on the train had reached an almost astronomical figure: 3,654,000 units of iron ore, 710,000 units of copper ore, and 230,000 units of wood. What's your name? I looked at the girl standing silently behind me in the mirror and asked casually. This girl was chosen by old Zhu from the slaves to handle cleaning, meals, and life in my control room. Over the past few days, she's performed well, quiet, doesn't overthink, and works fast. Xiao Fong. What did you do before the apocalypse? I was an elementary school teacher. I turned to glance at her and nodded slightly. I like educated people. You may leave. There's nothing else. Yes, Lord Mang. After the girl left, I adjusted my new clothes, looking at myself in the mirror with satisfaction. I leaned on my single-handed cane and chuckled. After spending 4,400 units of wood, the custom tailoring production line reached level 10, unlocking 2 super effects. The level 5 super effect gives the clothes excellent heat retention. The level 10 super effect allows for the crafting of high-end, exquisite garments that significantly enhance one's aura, though they cost 500 times the normal materials. The cost to produce a normal set of clothes is just 1 unit of wood, incredibly cheap, and they're custom-made. Compared to the 40,000 units for an exoskeleton, this is practically charity. Even high-end clothes, at 500 times the cost, only take 500 units of wood. Upgrading this line doesn't give normal effects. Only at certain levels do the 2 special super effects appear. Tomorrow is a very important day. It's the day the train officially enters a stable orbit, all processes become official, and the term slave will be formally changed. So, I specially crafted a high-end outfit for my official appearance tomorrow. As the captain, my attire affects the morale of those below me. If the captain looks sharp, the people will feel secure. If the captain is filthy and disheveled, the people will be anxious, worrying the train might be destroyed by monsters any day. Today the train is resting on the plains. All slaves have the day off to do as they please in the cars or around the train. I looked at myself in the full-length mirror and smiled. It wasn't bad. I designed a black suit for myself, custom-fitted to my body, which created a very distinct aura. Underneath was a white vest and a black shirt, clear layers of clothing. Especially the scepter in my hand. It was the perfect finishing touch. Just then, a knock came from outside the control room. Come in. Li Shiji entered with a stack of blueprints. Lord Mang. The logo for the planet train you asked me to prepare. I've sketched a few designs. Take a look. I sat down and took the blueprints, looking through them one by one. Finally, I placed one on the table and tapped it. Pick this one. I'll build an extra normal car and prepare 100 refrigerators for you. Go to Old Zhu for manpower. Find more people to help you build this maze. Try to finish it before dawn tomorrow. No problem, Li Shiji replied seriously, then hesitated. Lord Mang, could we craft some normal refrigerators too? He explained that after the robot wanders the maze for a while, it will surely notice the special nature of the high-end refrigerators. Mixing in normal ones would stall it for a very long time. Fine, say no more. I narrowed my eyes and smiled, waving a hand. I'll craft 200 normal refrigerators for you. Use them as you see fit. I get the idea, mixing the fake with the real. Truly torturous. A normal refrigerator only costs 100 units of iron. 200 of them only take 20,000 units. 2 things, the uniform patches and the S-rank class change mission, were basically settled. Today the train is reorganizing. The slaves are resting, and my only task today is to spend all 3,654,000 units of iron. This is the fruit of over 30 days of mining in the Iron Ridge Wasteland. First, I spent 480,000 units of iron to craft a normal car and 300 refrigerators. Among them, 100 were upgraded to level 10. It's worth noting that whether it's refrigerators, single beds, or tripod machine guns, when calculating points for the Iron Ridge Wasteland Regional Leaderboard, the system only counts the single highest level item, not the total number crafted. The planet train currently has 11 cars, not counting the temporary one for the maze. According to my plan, I still need to build a few more. Li Shurji's appearance made me realize that among these slaves, there might be people who were extraordinary before the apocalypse, or even experts in certain fields. Talents like that might be useful one day. So, I decided to build 2 more hard sleeper cars to serve as high-level staff quarters, one for men, one for women. Each hard sleeper car has bunk beds, 18 in total, and they're placed between car number 4 and car number 5. The current structure of the train is as follows. The engine, just me. Car number 2, all industrial production lines, including pickaxes, machine gun ammo, and off-road motorcycles. Car number 3, ammo storage, copper, wood, and other resources. Currently holds several level 10 refrigerators for large-scale or storage. Car number 4, living production lines like moldy bread, Coca-Cola, and steam buns. Old Zhu and the others usually come here to make food for the slaves. Car number 5, high-level female staff quarters. Car number 6, high-level male staff quarters. Car number 7, hard sleeper car for mercenaries. In the corner are 2 level 10 refrigerators, one holding 10 virtual training pods for training. The other holds many single beds for new mercenary recruits. Cars number 8 and 9 house the 101 human slaves. The floors are all carpeted. Cars number 10 and 11 house the 121 goblin slaves, along with 4 level 10 refrigerators containing over 800 newly joined slaves. Cars number 12 and 13 are fire support cars for long-range assistance, equipped with 40-barrel cherry blossom rockets and repeating ballistas. For a long time to come, the structure of the planet train will basically remain unchanged unless there's a new population surge. After spending another 32,000 units of iron to craft level 3 armor for the 2 new cars, I looked at the cost to upgrade armor from level 3 to level 4. Nearly 30,000 units per car. Currently, the train has 13 cars plus the engine, making 14. Upgrading them all to level 4 armor requires 420,000 units of iron. Looking at that number, my mouth twitched. Even though I knew the price, actually doing it still hurt. So expensive. But this is a mandatory expense. Very quickly, all 13 cars and the engine of the planet train were upgraded to level 4 armor. Then, upgrading from level 4 to level 5 required 50,000 units per car, 700,000 units total. As that iron was thrown in, the train's armor officially reached level 5. The iron count that once seemed astronomical on the console instantly shrank from 3,654,000 units, down to 1,652,000 units. But it wasn't over. I said before that if I didn't get the armor to level 6, I absolutely wouldn't set foot on Kunlun Mountain. Without level 6 armor, entering the green zone provides no sense of security at all. Each car needs 100,000 units of iron to go from level 5 to level 6. When 1,400,000 units of iron were consumed, the balance was only 252,000 units. I went from rich to poor almost overnight. I stepped out of the control room and stood on the plains, leaning on my cane, looking at the train covered in thick, heavy armor. I was filled with pride. The sense of security that level 6 armor provides is something no other accessory can match. With this armor, even in the green zone, I can walk without a care in the world. Why did I spend so many days in the Iron Ridge Wasteland? Wasn't it for this exact moment? Furthermore, after reaching level 6, the most expensive green-grade accessory, the car steel armor, finally unlocked its first level 5 super effect. This effect grants immunity to corrosion from liquids, mist, and similar environments. Not a bad effect. The first time we faced a level 3 spider boss, the train accidentally came into contact with toxins during the fight, causing a slight energy leak. Although it wasn't serious, investigating and fixing it took quite a bit of time. With this effect, similar troubles will be practically non-existent in the future. From now on, if we encounter monsters that spray acid, the train won't be corroded anymore. Excellent. I let out a sigh and glanced at the remaining 252,000 units of iron ore. I still haven't fully upgraded all the craftable accessories after upgrading to a level 3 train. Not to mention, upgrading to a level 4 train will consume 10,000 units of level 2 iron ore, which is equivalent to 100,000 units of regular iron ore. This remaining iron ore is simply not enough. But that's fine. Level 6 armor might sound ordinary, but these words mean I can mine freely in the green zone. Why stay in the Iron Ridge wasteland? The green zone has way more high-level ores. I can just look for ore veins once I get there. I've mined quite a bit of copper ore over the past 2 days, enough to stock up the train with 710,000 units. The 40-barrel cherry blossom rocket launcher I built hasn't even been fired yet. Once we reach the green zone, I should find a boss to test it out on. The rocket launcher is still only level 1, while the 4 tripod heavy machine guns have already been upgraded to level 5. After that, I opened the regional leaderboard. First place, the planetary level 3 train, combat power 5,412. Second place, the survival level 3 train, combat power 2,789. Third place, the black turtle level 3 train, combat power 2,621. Fourth place, the purple cloud level 3 train, combat power 2,212. Fifth place, empty. The base value of a level 3 train is 500 points. Each survivor taken in adds 1 point. My survivor count has added 1,012 points. The total accessory level is 313, adding 3,130 points. 2 red grade accessories add 200 points. A total of 57 super effects add another 570 points. My score skyrocketed mainly due to the total accessory level. The requirement to upgrade to a level 4 train is only 80 levels, whereas I far exceeded it at 313 levels. Because of this, my score reached a level theoretically impossible for a level 3 train, leaving the second place in the dust by nearly double the points. The train radio was also buzzing with discussions about this. The bastard train said, "No way, guys. The train scoring algorithm is public. You can't just randomly gain hundreds or thousands of points. Points increase either from having more slaves, higher level accessories, or extra super effects. The planetary having 5,412 points makes absolutely no sense. Accessories are basically capped at level 3. At most, you might have a gold accessory at level 5. Let's assume that's the case. Even if they had 20 gold accessories, maxing them all out would only give about 60 levels, which is 600 points. So where did the other 5,000 points come from? The Infinity Train chimed in. Maybe it's points from slaves? The bastard train immediately retorted, "Brilliant. Try stuffing 5,000 slaves onto your train and see if you can feed them. Do you think theirs are to mine every single day?" Everyone knows how hard it is to find survivors in the ruins of Taiping City. Finding 5,000 survivors is just absurd. The purple cloud train spoke up. "All right, that's enough. Stop arguing. I feel like the captain of the planetary, though we've never met, is definitely someone with courage, strategy, and ruthlessness. It's perfectly normal for him to develop a bit faster than the rest of us." The bloodthirsty bull train sneered. "Hey, guy above, I remember you. Weren't you the one saying you wanted to confront the planetary and asking if he'd dare raise his voice in front of you?" The purple cloud train immediately replied, "You've got the wrong person." "Really?" I looked at the chat logs on the train radio and pulled out a small notebook from my drawer. I glanced at the words written in it. The purple cloud train. Arrogant tone. Once said he wanted to drive his train over to confront me and asked if I'd dare raise my voice in front of him. I didn't remember wrong at all. It's only been a little over a month, yet this guy has mellowed out a lot. Sure enough, in the apocalypse, people grow up incredibly fast. Even their temperaments change drastically. I shook my head and chuckled, tossing the notebook back into the drawer. Leaning back in my chair, I propped my feet up on the console, leisurely lit a cigarette, and grabbed the remote to find another zombie movie to watch. Watching a zombie movie during the apocalypse really hits different, The immersion is insane. Just then, I glanced at the enemy detection radar and spotted a small horde of zombies moving about 7,000 meters to the left. Perfect timing. I picked up the walkie-talkie. Biaozi, take some men on the dirt bikes and catch a few zombies for me. Understood. Half an hour later, Biaozi returned triumphantly on his dirt bike. Tied to the back was a level 10 refrigerator, stuffed with 4 or 5 level 1 zombies, just as I ordered. The blood-covered zombies, with their rolled-back white eyes and incessant snarling, were secured right in front of the locomotive's window. Since we didn't have iron chains or any convenient tools to tie them down, the process looked incredibly brutal. Without iron chains or proper restraints, Biaozi and his crew had to do it manually. One guy let a zombie step on his shoulders, while another hugged its legs tightly. This way, the upper half of the zombie was perfectly exposed right outside the locomotive's window, constantly snarling and slamming against the glass. When they caught the zombies, they used the handheld zombie sensor jammers I handed out, so they didn't make a big scene. They quietly snatched a few and retreated. Inside the control room, it was currently morning. Sunlight streamed through the window, making the room look unusually peaceful and warm. But right at that moment, roar. An ear-piercing screech suddenly shattered the atmosphere. A horrifying, blood-mangled face had appeared outside the window at some point. Its pale, bloodless skin and rolled-back white eyes were locked onto me, sitting in the control room, brimming with bloodlust. Its hands frantically pounded against the glass, leaving bloody handprints all over the window, instantly obliterating the warm feeling in the room. A murderous aura surged. Even the sunlight from earlier now felt like a death knell at dusk. I sat at the console, my expression changing drastically as an intense wave of fear and despair crashed into my heart. Then, I curled up in my chair, pulling the blanket beside me tightly over my body. Next, I tremblingly grabbed the remote and put a zombie movie on the screen. Roar! The snarls of the zombies in the movie and the zombies outside the window echoed almost simultaneously. This viewing experience was way too realistic, even a bit unique. This is the exact feeling. Only in a state like this can it be called true immersion. Watching a zombie movie during the apocalypse is the only way to truly appreciate the unique charm of this genre. An hour and a half later, Biaozi stood outside the train, his legs trembling. He looked up with hollow eyes at the zombies stepping on his shoulders. So heavy. Finally, he received my order to stop. His body went limp. Just as he pulled out the machete from his waist, preparing to kill the zombie lunging at him, he received a new order. I told him to keep these zombies, stuff them in the fridge, and not let them starve to death. We'd use them again next time. Do zombies eat sliced bread? Biaozi stared at the zombie in front of him, falling into deep thought. What if they don't eat sliced bread? Use monster corpses? That's not impossible. The train still had some corpse meat stocked up. But these zombies were very professional. They didn't eat their own kind. Let's just see if they eat sliced bread first. He hesitantly took out a slice of bread from his pocket and tossed it straight into the mouth of the zombie he was pinning down. Crunch, crunch. It's actually eating it with gusto. Looks like zombies can eat sliced bread. Although Biaozi didn't know why I was keeping zombies, he knew very well that I was the captain. I stood at a different height and saw further than he did. Since these zombies were kept alive, they definitely had a purpose. They might very well become part of some grand plan later on. Just like the maze Li Shiji built. To this day, Biaozi still didn't understand what it was for, but I valued it highly. Because of this, when Li Shiji came asking for manpower, he agreed immediately. What I valued was what he valued. Soon, it was the second day. Early in the morning, the sky was covered in gloomy clouds. There had been a light drizzle last night. The rain had stopped this morning, but the weather remained overcast. The air carried a faint, sweet scent. All the slaves felt a bit uneasy as they stood in neat rows on the wasteland. Their eyes were fixed on the armed mercenaries standing below the train, along with Biaozi and Old Zhu. Over the past few days, they had seen these two the most. As for me, the captain, I rarely appeared before them. Right at that moment, a man in a suit walked out from behind the train, slowly stepping onto the roof of a carriage. Leaning on a cane, he looked down at everyone. For a moment, the crowd's breathing almost stopped. That person was me, the captain of the planetary, and their leader. Wow, so handsome. Zhang San, standing out in the crowd, couldn't help but grip the hem of his shirt and whisper upon seeing this. He's seriously so handsome. Uncle Li couldn't help but sigh in admiration. I naturally exuded an indescribable aura of a superior. He had met quite a few other captains, and most of them had the look of a petty person drunk on success, but I never had that kind of vibe. Coupled with a suit that looked expensive at a glance, neat and tidy, the massive train beneath my feet added a few degrees of majesty. With the desolate wasteland as a backdrop, it made people feel as if they were standing before a king of the apocalypse. When he was on Lord Kuen's train, he never thought about standing out. But here with me, he truly wanted to make a contribution. It's okay, Uncle Li. I believe that sooner or later, you'll have your day. Before he could finish, Uncle Li quickly clamped a hand over the young man's mouth. His eyes were filled with panic as he hissed hoarsely, "Are you crazy? Why don't you just go find a dragon robe and drape it over me while you're at it?" The young man struggled to break free, shaking his head helplessly. "What are you thinking? I have high expectations for you, but not that high. What I meant was, even though we're just standing here like ants right now, I believe that sooner or later, there will come a day when you can be like Brother Biao or Captain Zhu, standing below the train when Captain Mang gives a speech." Phew, you scare me to death. The next moment, my voice echoed from the external speakers mounted on the train, reaching everyone's ears directly. There were no pleasantries or redundant words. Rather than a speech, it felt more like a declaration. Starting today, the planetary will undergo a comprehensive reform. From now on, the title of slave will no longer exist, nor will the title of thug. Perhaps in this apocalypse, all other captains call you slaves. Perhaps you yourselves have long gotten used to that title. But starting today, under my command, you are not slaves without human rights. As long as you work hard, you can still realize your own value in this apocalypse. You have the right to marry, have children, and even build a family of 3 on this train. The planetary will not tolerate any worthless freeloaders, but it will absolutely not mistreat anyone who contributes to this train. I stood on the roof of the carriage, looking down at the dense sea of people below. I paused for a beat before continuing, my voice remaining calm. You will no longer be slaves, but residents of this train. Thugs will no longer be called thugs, but guards. Positions and benefits will be separated. There can be many types of positions, but there are only 6 levels of benefits. Each position will enjoy different benefits. The lowest benefit level is level 3 resident. 1 slice of bread and 2 bottles of water per day, living in a refrigerator. Level 2 resident benefits. 20 slices of bread and 4 bottles of water per day, living in a carriage. Level 1 resident benefits. Daily food ration remains the same. Continues living in a carriage, but the number of meat vouchers received will be based on the amount of or mined each day. Every 10 units of resource or can be exchanged for 1 meat voucher. The remainder can be accumulated to the next day, rounded up for payment. Level 3 high-tier talent benefits. Full meals every day, plus 2 meat vouchers. Level 2 high-tier talent benefits. Full meals, plus 3 meat vouchers per day. Level 1 high-tier talent benefits. 5 meat vouchers per day. I looked across the crowd, leaning on my cane with one hand, and continued, all residents will be promoted based on the amount of, or they mine. Unless you have other special talents, your position will remain a resident, and the highest benefit level you can reach is level 1 resident. Meat selling residents will default to level 3 resident benefits. They can upgrade their benefits through the meat vouchers they earn, capping at level 1 resident. Biaozi, old Zhu. Here. The 2 of them stood at attention below the train simultaneously, answering loudly. You 2 will receive level 1 high-tier talent benefits. The remaining 8 guards will receive level 2 high-tier talent benefits. The 20 new guards to be recruited will receive level 3 high-tier talent benefits. Meat vouchers are not just for buying meat. They can also be exchanged for many other items on the train. For example, cigarettes, snacks, food, certain daily necessities, and you can even exchange them for a 100 square meter refrigerator to use as a bridal chamber, train orders, benefit upgrades, and much more. In the future, anyone who makes a contribution will be rewarded with a corresponding number of meat vouchers. This is what I, Chen Meng, can give you. As the planetary develops, All benefits will be upgraded accordingly. As for the remaining details, I'll let old Zhu explain them to everyone. With that said, I didn't linger. I turned around and headed back to my cabin, flopping down into my chair with a sigh. I looked out the window at the crowd with satisfaction. I had discussed this reform system with old Zhu for several days straight, and it was basically a pretty solid plan. There were two major problems with the train's original plan. First, when a slave reached level 1 benefits, there was no more room for promotion. Their motivation to work would naturally drop, but I couldn't just let them keep upgrading either. Because if they went any higher, they'd encroach on the thug's benefits. Was I supposed to let slaves live in the guard's carriage? Second, the train's previous reward mechanism was too monotonous. It was only about upgrading benefits, but you can't always use the same reward method for different levels of contribution. Furthermore, if old Zhu made a massive contribution later on, how would I reward him? How could his benefits be upgraded any further? In other words, there was nothing left to reward him with. For someone in a high position, having nothing to reward a subordinate who has made a contribution is an extremely dangerous signal. Therefore, a new currency was absolutely necessary. The meat voucher was born from this. When meat vouchers are used as a currency, their actual function of buying meat becomes the least important thing about them. The meat-selling residents, along with the planetary, acted as the anchor for its value, just like fiat money anchored to gold or government bonds. I no longer had to worry about running out of things to reward people with, because the rules for acquiring meat vouchers were entirely in my hands. Even though residents could only reach level 1 resident benefits at most, they could continuously earn meat vouchers. With those, they could exchange them for a large 100 square meter house, or even use them to upgrade their benefits. As for the meat-selling residents, they wouldn't be like before. They now had the freedom to trade under a market economy mechanism. Each person could set their own price based on their looks, skills, or even the emotional value they provided. For example, one woman might charge 3 vouchers a time, while another might charge 5. Under such a system, the train's production efficiency would be higher than under slavery, and everyone's motivation to work would be vastly greater than before. In the previous slave system, everyone's eyes were hollow. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring. They only knew how to bury their heads and work. But after the new system was implemented, everyone had a goal. I placed a lot of enticing items in the store. My left hand issued meat vouchers through benefits, while my right hand used the meat voucher store to take them back. On the surface, it looked like passing money from the left hand to the right, but the enthusiasm of all the residents on the train was stimulated. This method of mobilization was far superior to the previous communal pod reward system. It's just that desperate times call for desperate measures. The planetary currently possessed overwhelming internal power and overwhelming external force, and lacked no supplies. Only then did it have the qualifications to implement this system. Other trains didn't even have the time to think about such things. They were still racking their brains over where to mine or tomorrow. I was quite satisfied with this design. Although it still had many flaws, any system has to start from a rudimentary form before gradually being perfected. No organization is born perfect. Level 3 high-tier talent benefits cost 200 meat vouchers. After old Zhu finished explaining, all the residents gathered around the train, staring intently at the price list posted outside the carriage. A man currently enjoying level 1 resident benefits widened his eyes, counting on his fingers as he muttered, "Right now, I'm a level 1 resident. I get 1 meat voucher a day." In other words, it only takes 200 days to upgrade to level 3 high-tier talent benefits. After that, I'll get 2 meat vouchers a day. I'll break even in just 100 days. From then on, it's a pure profit of 2 meat vouchers every day. That's over 600 meat vouchers a year. Who's a slave anymore? A person next to him nudged him gently, eyes still glued to the notice board. Chen Meng already said it. We're residents now. Ah, right, residents. The man looked a bit embarrassed and chuckled awkwardly. Still not used to it. Inside the cabin, I looked at old Zhu and said in a deep voice, "When this system is implemented, there will definitely be many areas that need adjustment, like the prices of goods. You need to keep a close eye on it over the next few days, understand?" Understood. Old Zhu nodded solemnly, then asked, "Then what about Ji Soso, the minor celebrities, and Li Shiji? What benefits do they get?" I pondered for a moment before saying, Ji Soso and Li Shurji will receive level 3 high-tier talent benefits, staying in the 2 talent carriages respectively. As for the minor celebrities, just give them level 3 resident benefits. They're celebrities, after all. They won't price themselves low. Yes, there's one more thing. Old Zhu lowered his voice. Last time, you said you'd reward Ji Soso to whoever performed well. But the ones who performed well were the goblins, and they have no interest in women. Plus, no one has touched her. I nodded. I know. Tell her to come over later. That day, all the residents were given a day off. Everyone excitedly looked at the extensive list of goods. In the crowd, a young couple stood close together. The girl looked at the refrigerator priced at 1,000 meat vouchers, her eyes sparkling. Hubby, can you work hard mining, and buy me a house? We'll definitely have a home of our own on the planetary, right? The young man's face stiffened slightly. He didn't say anything. In his heart, he only wished this was all just a dream. What human rights? What residence? He didn't care about any of that. He just wanted to be a content laborer, having food to eat every day, not having to worry about life and death, not having to face monsters. Wasn't that better? Before the apocalypse, he had worked himself to the bone just to buy a house and get married. The apocalypse finally came, and he thought he wouldn't have to worry about housing anymore. Who would have thought that even here, he'd still have to buy a house? It's the apocalypse, and he still has to buy a house. What a cruel joke. Was he doomed to never escape the words "buy a house" in this lifetime? Previously, the train's rule was that everyone had to mine at least 10 units of ore a day. But now, if he wanted to buy a house, his working hours would definitely have to be extended to earn more meat vouchers. Hubby, is it not okay? He took a deep breath, forced a smile, and rubbed his girlfriend's head. Why wouldn't it be? I knew it. Hubby is the best. The girl said dreamily. Chen Meng is so nice. The other captains all call us slaves, but he's the only one who calls us residents. He even gave us the chance to buy a house. Hubby, it's so great. We're finally not slaves anymore. He remained silent for a long time before gritting his teeth and squeezing out every word. Finally, not slaves anymore. The title was no longer slave. But why did he feel even more shackled in his heart than before? In a daze, he looked toward a middle-aged couple not far away. The middle-aged woman looked incredibly happy, while the middle-aged man happened to turn his head and look at him. Their eyes met, and both saw a familiar despair in the other's gaze. But then, the man looked at the list of goods and chuckled helplessly. If he could truly own a house of his own on the planetary, it didn't seem too bad. In the apocalypse, being able to live with someone you know and love could perhaps be considered a kind of happiness. Inside the cabin, I leaned back in my chair, taking in all the psychological shifts of the young couple outside the window. I couldn't help but shake my head and laugh. Tell me, it's not like those two love each other to the point of life and death, yet the man naturally took the burden of buying a house onto his own shoulders. If they really loved each other that much, I would have just given them a refrigerator directly. My stack of apocalyptic marriage certificates has been gathering dust for a long time, and I still haven't found the right people to use them on. Ji Soso, kneeling quietly to the side, didn't answer. She knew I didn't need one. I withdrew my gaze from the young couple. I didn't care what they were thinking. All I knew was that from now on, that young man would have to mine or like his life depended on it. As for the girl, mining 10 units of ore a day was a mandatory requirement, but she clearly didn't want to mine any more than that. We'll consider this matter temporarily closed. Next up is preparing to enter the green zone, the Shafe Plains, and completing the S-rank difficulty class advancement mission. I glanced at Ji Soso kneeling beside me. Go change your clothes again. Yeah, there's an outfit hanging over there for you. Really? Ji Soso's eyes lit up. She looked up at the V-neck evening gown hanging on the rack. Put it on. I grabbed the remote and played a rerun of a variety show Ji Soso had once been on. Once she finished changing, I looked her up and down a few times and gave a faint smile. Pretty sexy. As long as you like it, Chen Meng. I spent 500 units of wood to craft this outfit. It belonged to the high-end exquisite clothing category. Wearing it finally gave her the aura of a true female celebrity. Then I'll be going, Chen Meng. No way. In the crowd, the middle-aged man finally exploded, turning to his wife and roaring furiously. Are you ever going to stop? Just how obsessed are you with getting a house? Did spending 10 months in your mother's womb just give you muscles and no brains? Before the apocalypse, I worked my ass off for 20 years just to pay off the mortgage. Now you're forcing me to buy a house again. I'm over 40. Do you think I can still mine like that? 10 units of or a day is already pushing my limits. Let's get a divorce. Fine, let's get a divorce. The middle-aged woman shot back angrily. All right then, we're done. Once we're done, I'll go sell my body. I'll save up meat vouchers and buy a house myself. As long as you can accept your wife selling herself, that is. Can you handle that? The middle-aged man, who had just been acting tough, instantly froze in place. His mouth opened and closed, but he couldn't utter a single word. Critical hit, buddy. A bystander chimed in with a teasing laugh. If your wife really goes to sell herself, I'll be her first customer. The middle-aged man turned and cursed at him, then took a deep breath, trying to suppress his emotions. He forced a smile. What nonsense are you talking about? Of course we'll buy it. Why wouldn't we? I'll just work harder to mine more or from now on. That's more like it. Everything was truly a mess. A minor female celebrity looked at the crowd and sighed. She started pondering how much she should price herself at. A moment later, she turned to the woman next to her. Sister, how much do you think we should charge? I'm thinking of setting my price at 1 meat voucher. That cheap. The other woman winked, smiling slyly. My quality is definitely higher than those other girls. At the same price of 1 meat voucher, who could compete with me? I'm a celebrity, after all. In the short term, I can save up 50 meat vouchers to buy a high-end exquisite outfit. I just saw Sister Ji Soso walk out of Chen Mang's room wearing one. Her aura was completely different, like she was going to a gala before the apocalypse. Once I put that outfit on, I'll raise my price and go the premium route. I'll earn even more. Ah, the girl next to her was stunned. You guys really have a head for business. Learn from it. The sun gradually rose higher. Biaozi stood in the middle of the wasteland, looking at the 70 or 80 people in front of him. He said coldly, 21 of you will become guards for the planetary, enjoying level 3 high-tier talent benefits. The capable ones will be chosen. Next, all of you will enter the virtual combat training space and engage in life and death battles in the arena. The final 21 survivors will become guards. After that, the duels will continue. The final 2 will serve as the captains of Guard Squad 2 and Squad 3, respectively. Did you hear me clearly? The crowd in front of him shouted in unison, their spirits soaring. Understood. Biaozi nodded in satisfaction. Just then, Shan Miaozi walked over from the side. He was about to place his hand on Biaozi's arm, but was dodged. Biaozi frowned, brushing off non-existent dust from his clothes. If you have something to say, say it. Keep your hands to yourself. Don't dirty my new clothes. I had crafted 2 new sets of clothes for every member of the planetary. The regular residents' clothes were orange-red, a color I personally chose. On the left arm was the planetary's logo, designed around the character Mang. Next to it were the numbers 1, 2, or 3, representing the different resident benefit levels. The top was a windbreaker, and the pants were waterproof. The material was very special and kept you quite warm. After the light rain last night, the temperature had dropped significantly, but putting this outfit on instantly took the chill away. The guards' uniforms weren't as loose. The design was similar to pre-apocalypse Special Forces gear, with plenty of tactical pockets. Neat and practical. I actually really like this outfit of mine. It's just a shame it's only the standard version. I plan to save up 50 meat vouchers to exchange for a high-end exquisite set. It'll definitely look way cooler. Shan Miaozi spoke up weakly. I don't want to be a captain. I want to stay in Squad 1. What? Biaozi was slightly taken aback. No one said you were going to be a captain. How could he let Shan Miaozi be a captain? The captains of Squad 2 and Squad 3 were going to be his own men. If he planted someone in those 2 positions, he'd be digging his own grave. Shan Miaozi froze for a moment, then quickly waved his hands. Then it's fine. The guys were rumor-mongering that I might be the new captain, and I actually believe them. That's good, then. My personality isn't suited for being a captain anyway. It's fine. You keep busy, Brother Biao. I'm gonna go eat first. Biaozi glanced at Shan Miaozi's retreating figure, then turned back to the crowd in front of him. Everyone listen up. Enter the carriage one by one, until the sky gradually darkened. In the temporarily constructed 14th carriage, a single refrigerator stood alone with its door wide open. Chen Meng, Li Shiji, with prominent dark circles under his eyes, reported from the side, his voice a mix of exhaustion and excitement. The maze has been completely set up. Anyone who goes in will be stuck for at least half an hour. There's no negotiating or cheating. Right ahead is the entrance. The finish line is a lone refrigerator deep inside. The walls around it have finish line painted on them, just as you requested. You'll recognize it at a glance. It's just that there are still 7 people inside who haven't come out yet. Old Zhu, standing nearby, coughed lightly and explained with some embarrassment. Today, I found a group of people to help Li Shiji build the maze, but a few of them got lost and are stuck inside. It'll probably be a while before they can get out. Don't worry about them. I stood in the carriage, leaning on my cane, and said with a frown, this maze is incredibly important for the development of the planetary. Go find 10 more people and tell them to go into the maze and find the finish line for me. Understood. Soon, 10 residents were brought over and shoved into the refrigerator. An hour later, inside the carriage, I casually tossed the magazine in my hand to old Zhu. I'm going to bed. Tell me the fastest clear time tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, we'll enter the green zone, the Sheikh Plains. Once someone comes out, immediately clear everyone out of the maze. I need to use it. Yes, sir. On the Sheikh Plains, the Azure Dragon was anchored near a level 2 iron or vein. A bald man with heavy dark circles and a hollow gaze lay sprawled across the control panel, staring blankly at the walkie-talkie in front of him. He felt like he was about to turn into a stone statue waiting for a miracle. Over 30 days had passed. Was there really no one brave enough to attempt the S-rank difficulty mechanical train class advancement mission anymore? For the past 30 days, he had been obsessing over this, unable to eat or sleep properly, causing his dark circles to grow heavier by the day. Did this walkie-talkie really not go off while I was sleeping? No. A crisp, mechanical AI voice quickly responded. This is the 8th time you've asked this question. I am an AI. As long as the train's energy is not interrupted, I will not enter hibernation mode. Ugh. The bald man let out a sigh, leaning back in his chair lifelessly. He looked up at the ceiling and muttered, God, please send me a stubborn fool already. I really need those 30 Murphy stones. The stars faded, and the constellations shifted. Morning came quickly. After waking up, I lazily stretched my body, looking at the calendar on the wall with high spirits, my eyes filled with anticipation. Today was the day we'd enter the Sheikh Plains. Both the Sheikh Plains and the Kunlun Mountains were green zones. When I went to the Kunlun Mountains last time, the resource detection radar didn't pick up a single or vein. There wasn't even a lumberyard. There were plenty of forests, but chopping down trees didn't yield any wood. This made me doubt whether mineral resources even existed in the Kunlun Mountains. Right now, I still needed a massive amount of iron ore to upgrade components and consume for the upgrade to a level 4 train. The Sheikh Plains was the best choice. You could even say it was the only choice. As for the S-rank difficulty class advancement mission, it could only be undertaken by going to the Sheikh Plains. After a successful class advancement, the train wouldn't immediately upgrade to level 4. Only when all upgrade conditions were met would the train officially advance to level 4. At that point, the special changes from the class advancement would truly manifest. At the same time, it would be impossible to return to lower-level areas, such as the White Zone, the Iron Ridge Wasteland. Ever since I transmigrated to this world, I had landed right in the Iron Ridge Wasteland. Having been there for over 2 months, I had gradually developed a bit of attachment to it. When I first arrived, it was early autumn. Now, winter was approaching. Fortunately, the train had central air conditioning and the clothes I crafted. Otherwise, the people on board would have frozen to death long ago. Just then, old Zhu came to report yesterday's clear times. The fastest person took about 4.5 hours to find the finish line. The slowest didn't come out until this morning, and the guy looked completely unhinged. His pupils were unfocused, almost unable to concentrate. Everyone who had been stuck in the maze had been brought out by Li Shiji. Li Shiji's spatial awareness was incredibly strong. He had a complete map of the maze in his head, so going in was like walking into his own home. But he was still exhausted, as he had to constantly turn into dead ends to find the lost residents, which drained a lot of stamina. Everything was ready. All we needed was the final push. All residents and guards had returned to their posts on the planetary. I sat at the control panel, gazing thoughtfully at the wasteland ahead. We were about to leave the wasteland. I had to think if there was anything left unresolved, because coming back later would be very difficult. There was one thing. I opened my private chat list, found the young man who had gifted me the oxygen generator component blueprint, and sent him the coordinates of 13 surface level 1 iron ore veins. These were veins I had come across over the past few days. They were all level 1 iron ore veins, and I was too lazy to stop and mine them. But for a law-abiding train, these coordinates held significant value. This way, when he ran out of or to mine in the future, he wouldn't have to stumble around the wasteland like a headless fly. He could just head straight for these coordinates. Out on the wasteland, inside the speeding scavenger train, the young man frowned as he stared at his resource detection radar. Hoping for some color to pop up, he suddenly saw the 13 iron ore coordinates sent by the planetary in his private radio chat. His entire body stiffened, and his lips even trembled slightly. "Bro, are you in trouble? Send me your coordinates. My train's firepower is decent. I'll come over and see if I can help." In his mind, barring any surprises, the planetary must have encountered grave danger, perhaps even on the verge of destruction, which was why he sent him these 13 iron ore coordinates. After all, this was a massive fortune on the wasteland. You couldn't just casually give it away to someone else. Even though he had helped the planetary before, it didn't warrant such a huge payback. And the planetary replied very quickly. "The planetary, I'm preparing to enter a high-level area. Keeping these coordinates is useless to me. They're yours." The young man froze for a split second before immediately reacting, jumping up with eyes full of excitement. After sending a barrage of thank you messages, he headed toward the iron ore coordinate closest to him. The worry in his eyes completely vanished, leaving only hope and thrill. Like a pirate, he stood on the control panel, looked at the empty wasteland ahead, and roared, "Full speed ahead." He knew it. The planetary had main character energy written all over it. Clinging to the main character's thigh, how could he ever lack anything? Weren't these 13 level 1 iron ore veins worth way more than that oxygen generator blueprint? For a long time to come, he wouldn't need to run all over the wasteland looking for ore veins. Even if a vein was occupied by monsters, he could just skip it and head to the next one. By the time he finished mining the 13th vein, the first one would be close to recovering. Who knows, before entering a high-level area, he might not even need to find any other iron ore veins. Just relying on these 13 would be enough. I glanced at the thank you messages sent by the scavenger train without reading them closely. This guy had gifted me the oxygen generator component, which helped me quite a bit. I didn't mind returning the favor a little. And then, I opened the small notebook in my drawer. Inside were 2 lines. The sparkling water train, malicious speculation. The purple cloud train, arrogant tone. Once said he wanted to ram his train into mine, and asked if I'd dare raise my voice in front of him. I immediately opened the train radio and pinned a message to the top. "The planetary, will the captains of the sparkling water train and the purple cloud train please contact me directly? I want to make a deal with you." Very quickly, ignoring the uproar I had caused on the train radio, I looked straight at the private message from the captain of the purple cloud train. Fast response. "The purple cloud train. Bro, there are too many people out there, so I'm begging you on my knees. I was wrong. Can you let me off this once?" I admit I spoke a bit too arrogantly back then. It was mainly because 2 of my carriages had just blown up that day, so I was in a bad mood and got a little impulsive. "The planetary, what are you talking about? Send me your coordinates. I just want to make a deal." "The purple cloud train. Bro, my own flesh and blood brother. I really know I messed up. Mother of God, I can't tell if you're joking. I really can't tell." "The planetary, do you really not want to trade face to face? I want to see if you have 3 heads and 6 arms. I want to see what you meant when you said I wouldn't dare raise my voice in front of you. Who knows, maybe I really wouldn't dare." "The purple cloud train. Please, bro. I really know I was wrong." I boredly lit a cigarette, leaned back in my chair, and looked over at the private message panel. Seeing that the sparkling water train had also sent a similar plea for mercy, I simply turned off the train radio. Still too soft. Honestly, I really wanted to drive my train straight into theirs to see who was tougher. But since those 2 had completely caved, I lost interest in teasing them any further. I sat there, thinking for a moment longer. After confirming there was no one left in the Iron Ridge wasteland worth my lingering attachment, I took a deep breath, looked straight ahead, and slowly pushed the throttle. Shave Plains, here I come. The last time I entered a high-level area, I was forced to turn back. This time, once I complete the S-rank class advancement mission, the first thing I want to do is charge straight into the Kunlun Mountains, wipe out the magma snakes and the T-Rex, and then figure out the rest. Just then, boom, a bolt of lightning suddenly tore through the thick, dark clouds, followed immediately by a clap of thunder echoing across the horizon. Fierce winds began to howl. I looked out the window, determined the wind direction, and suddenly thought of something. With a highly excited smile, I slammed the throttle all the way down. In that case, let's fly a little higher. Instantly, the engines roared. The long planetary train accelerated like a giant dragon through the torrential rain and howling wind, charging toward the edge of the wasteland. In the blink of an eye, the ring of fire around the hull was activated. Deep orange flames erupted, engulfing the entire train. Its already blazing speed was pushed to another level. From a distance, the train looked like a hellish battleship bursting out of a sea of fire. The fiercely swirling rings of fire created an intense contrast between the storm and the flames. 2 hours later, the planetary charged straight north, reaching the border between the Iron Ridge wasteland and the Shave Plains. Before my eyes was a massive curtain of light separating the two areas. On it, for glowing words were clearly visible, Shave Plains. At the same time, a bright red line of text scrolled across the control screen. The area ahead is a green zone, Shave Plains. The maximum monster level that can appear is level 6. Current train level, level 3. The danger factor is relatively high. Please proceed with caution. I looked at the text and chuckled. The last time I entered the Kunlun Mountains, the prompt advised me to leave immediately. Now, it had changed to please proceed with caution. I was cautious enough. I only dared to come here after upgrading my armor to level 6. I believe that among all the trains still lingering in the white zones, no one was more careful than me. I pushed the throttle again. The train didn't slow down at all, crashing straight through the light curtain and smoothly entering the Shave Plains. As soon as I entered the area, a vast grassland stretched out before me, though the grass was a bit withered due to the weather. The resource and enemy detection radars showed no high-level monsters or veins nearby. There were only a scattered few level 3 monsters and not a single level 4 in sight. This meant that within a 10,000-meter radius, it was absolutely safe. This also confirmed a suspicion of mine. Not all green zones were as terrifying as the Kunlun Mountains. If everywhere was that scary, how could other trains survive? When first entering a green zone, everyone was only at level 3. For a normal level 3 train, being thrown into an environment like the Kunlun Mountains was almost certain death. But this place was clearly a relatively safe zone. I didn't go any deeper. Instead, I immediately looked at the S-rank difficulty mechanical train class advancement mission panel on the screen. I took a deep breath, feeling a bit tense, and hit confirm. Even though I had prepared thoroughly, no one knew just how high the intelligence of that robot would be. Instantly, a floating control panel appeared before my eyes. You have confirmed the class advancement path for the planetary as mechanical train and have successfully accepted the S-rank difficulty class advancement mission. Within 1 hour, a robot will land at the starting point of the maze on your train. Please wait patiently. I let out a soft breath. This was an S-rank class advancement mission, after all. If I failed this time, my only remaining path would be the D-rank difficulty mission. On the other side of the Shave Plains, inside the Azure Dragon, exaggerated laughter rang out endlessly. A bald man with hands on his hips and terrifyingly dark circles under his eyes stared at the walkie-talkie, flashing red in his hand. He said excitedly, "I finally waited long enough. I knew it. This world will never run out of stubborn fools." He took a deep breath, looking at the control screen with a resolute gaze. "Good luck, son. Once I get those 30 Murphy stones, I'll use 2 on you, Mom, to help you awaken your level 5 super effect. Good luck to you." The mechanical AI voice echoed in the carriage. Without hesitation, the man pressed the red button on the handheld walkie-talkie. His body instantly went limp, collapsing into the chair with his eyes shut tight. His consciousness had clearly left his body. Inside the planetary, a piercing alarm blared from the roof of the train. Right after, I saw a massive drone hovering in the air above the planetary. The control screen in front of me flashed red frantically. Please do not attack. Please do not attack. This drone is the mission objective. This drone is the mission objective. Attacking it will result in mission failure. Suspended beneath the drone was a square iron box. Suddenly, the box detached from the drone and plummeted to the ground. Its four sides quickly popped open, revealing a robot curled up inside. I looked up at the drone flying away, unable to help but mutter in astonishment. I thought it would be a teleportation portal or something. I didn't expect them to use a drone for delivery. The robot that fell to the ground got up. As if its path was pre-programmed, it immediately sprinted straight toward the maze entrance of the temporary carriage 14 without any hesitation. The moment it touched the ground, the time limit began counting down. I let out a soft breath, my eyes glued to the half-hour countdown timer on the control screen. At the same time, I watched the live feed of the maze transmitted from the robot's perspective. A sense of tension gradually spread. Once the mission started, the robot's POV automatically appeared on the control screen, allowing me to intuitively observe how it navigated the maze. Wait a minute. The robot that had just charged into the maze suddenly stopped in its tracks. Before it was a massive 100 square meter space, with 10 refrigerators lined up neatly in front. 100 square meters? It clearly remembered that there was no such large space inside the train. It turned around and walked toward the maze entrance, only to realize that this 100 square meter space was actually tucked inside. A refrigerator. A refrigerator. Whose refrigerator has a 100 square meter space inside? Its voice echoed through the amplifier, devoid of emotion but carrying a cold, mechanical tone. However, time didn't allow it to think for too long. There was only half an hour left. Looking at the 10 refrigerators in front of it, a sense of unease welled up inside. The robot quickly approached the first refrigerator. Just as it was about to open the door, it noticed a piece of paper taped to it. It read, "As expected, when faced with a choice, you still subconsciously picked the first one on the left, huh? Actually, the first one on the right is the correct path." The man inside the robot paused for a moment, but still subconsciously opened the refrigerator door. Behind the door, as expected, was another 100 square meter space, with 3 more refrigerators placed inside. "Mom, is there any way?" Fortunately, the train support AI had also landed with the robot for this mission. Very quickly, a clear and decisive voice rang in his ear. "Then what use am I?" The man gritted his teeth and thought for a moment. Just as he was about to stubbornly charge ahead, he caught a glimpse of an extremely hidden refrigerator tucked deep in the corner. The light shining on the 10 refrigerators created an interplay of light and shadow, making the one in the corner easy to overlook. He sneered, then immediately ran toward the hidden refrigerator. The rule of the maze was that there had to be a viable path from the start to the finish. Therefore, the captain must have intentionally hidden the correct route. Even though it was concealed, it was still discovered. He didn't understand why this train had refrigerators with such massive spaces, but that didn't matter. At least he could keep going. Luckily, this was a robot body, completely immune to fatigue. He ran to the refrigerator in the corner and forcefully pushed the door open to step inside. Behind the door was yet another 100 square meter space, and in the deepest corner sat another refrigerator. He immediately dashed straight toward it and opened the door. Behind it was still a massive space, and in the deep front right corner, another refrigerator appeared. Got it. A fierce sense of unease surged in his heart, a flash of despair crossing his eyes. Looking at the refrigerator over 10 meters away, he immediately prepared to run toward it. "Look to the left," the AI's voice rang in his ear. "There's a refrigerator over there." The man immediately turned his head to the left. Sure enough, a refrigerator sat there quietly. He couldn't help but grin. It really is a blind spot. Too bad Mom is here this time. He sprinted to the refrigerator on the left and pushed the door open. Inside was still a 100 square meter space, with another refrigerator placed in the corner. He kept charging forward and yanked the door open. But this time, what appeared before him was no longer a massive space, but just a normal refrigerator. Inside lay an A4 piece of paper. "Are you rejoicing, thinking you've discovered some secret?" What an absolute joke. Furious, the man slammed the refrigerator door shut, turned around, and ran back to the refrigerator he had entered previously, returning to the previous floor. Then, he charged toward the deepest refrigerator on the right. This time, when he opened the door, behind it was still a 100 square meter space, and in the deep corner sat another refrigerator. After continuously passing through 3 floors of giant refrigerators, he opened the corner refrigerator again. This time, it was a normal refrigerator. On the shelf sat a bottle of Coke and an A4 piece of paper. Thirsty? Have a drink. See? I told you from the very beginning that the first refrigerator on the right was the correct path. But you just had to insist on crawling into this little hidden corner fridge. Humans, they always think that whatever they secretly discover themselves is the absolute right answer. Be a good boy and run back to the first floor. You don't have much time left. Go to hell. The man, on the verge of a breakdown, slammed the refrigerator door shut and immediately turned around, running madly back the way he came. Finally, when he returned to the first floor and stood before the first refrigerator on the right, there was still an A4 piece of paper taped to it. Do you believe everything people tell you? Brainless. This time, he ignored everything and charged straight in. After all, there were only 10 refrigerators on the first floor. He just needed to try them one by one, as long as he ran fast enough. 10 minutes later, the nearly broken man realized that after running around in circles for ages, he was back on the first floor. It was still the 10 illuminated refrigerators in the middle and the hidden refrigerator in the dark corner. Even the papers taped to the doors were exactly the same. This isn't the first floor. It's a duplicated maze. The AI's voice rang in his ear. The man whipped around to look behind him. Sure enough, the maze entrance was gone. That meant he was still inside the path of the far-right refrigerator on the first floor. He took a deep breath and walked quickly toward the first refrigerator on the left. It's fine. No matter how many paths there are, I'll just explore them one by one. The first refrigerator door opened, and an A4 piece of paper slowly fluttered down. On it was just one large word. Stupid. He opened the second one. Still a normal refrigerator. Another A4 paper flew down, also with just one word. He opened 10 doors in a row. All of them were normal refrigerators. The papers pieced together to form a complete sentence. Stupid fool. Go back the way you came. You went the wrong way. The man was so angry he laughed. Without another word, he turned around and ran like a madman back toward the first floor. Finally, when the countdown timer only had 30 seconds left, he stumbled and opened a refrigerator door. Carrying his last shred of hope, he looked into the space inside. If this refrigerator still didn't have the finish line, this mission would be a complete failure. He could only pray for a miracle to happen. That behind this door was the finish line he was looking for. The next moment, he saw dozens of refrigerators sitting quietly in every corner of the space. His body trembled slightly. The last glimmer of hope in his eyes instantly vanished. He let out a miserable laugh, his entire body going limp as he collapsed to his knees. Looking at the dozens of refrigerators in front of him, looking at the countdown timer about to end, despair overwhelmed him. He completely broke down, slamming his head against the ground. Tears welled up in his eyes as his voice cracked in a heart-wrenching sob. I can't tell. Mom, I can't tell. I really can't tell. I really can't tell the difference, Mom. I want to go home. Congratulations. You have officially advanced to the mechanical train class. The AI's clear, mechanical voice rang out right after. Mom can't tell either. The final 30 seconds ended. The bald man, his nerves on the verge of collapse, seemed to have accepted his fate. He slowly stood up, looking at the dozens of refrigerators in front of him with despairing eyes, and let out a miserable laugh. The next moment, the robot suddenly seemed to lose control and collapsed to the ground. The countdown ended, and the man's consciousness was pulled out right at that moment. I sat in the control room, witnessing the entire process. Before I even had time to reflect, my eyes lit up at the sight. I poked my head out to look at the sky outside and didn't see any drone returning. In other words, this robot was now my spoils of war. I immediately grabbed the walkie-talkie. Old Zhu, tell Li Shiji to dismantle this maze, pack all the refrigerators into one, and bring that robot out. Understood, Old Zhu's voice quickly replied. Sure enough, whoever tied the bell must be the one to untie it. Only Li Shiji could dismantle this maze. If anyone else went in, they'd be dismantled by the maze before they could even start. This batch of refrigerators cost me a whopping 480,000 units of iron ore. Thinking back on it, it was absolutely worth it. Even if I took them to the earth core furnace to recycle, I'd recover almost half the cost. However, I only planned to recycle the normal refrigerators. I'd keep the level 10 ones for use. Recycling them would be a waste. Later on, they could all be used as storage rooms or single apartments for the residents. 100 square meters is not small at all. Perfectly square, with no shared common areas. This was pure, unshared space, completely different from the so-called no common area apartments of the old world. Just put in a few small fridges, a single bed, and some daily necessities scavenged in the apocalypse, and it would be enough to call a cozy little home. Consciousness returning to the Azure Dragon, the bald man leaned back in his chair, his eyes hollow. His blank gaze stared off into the distance as if his soul had been drained. Who knows how long passed before he snapped back to reality, looking at the lines of text on the control panel that he absolutely did not want to face. Failed to clear. However, you are the first captain to trigger the undersea maze encounter. In recognition of your courage and spirit of exploration, you have received a consolation prize. The bald man looked at the two lines of text on the control panel, along with an item that looked like a badge that had appeared out of nowhere. His eyes gradually regained a bit of light. He shook his head, reached out to pick up the badge, and smiled bitterly as if accepting his fate. Fine, at least there's a consolation prize. But right after, as the badge rested in his hand, an information panel popped up in front of him. Special item, Hero's Badge. Effect, when wearing this badge. It will soothe fear in times of despair, filling the wearer with courage. The bald man fell silent for a long time, then casually tossed the badge onto the control panel. What use is this piece of trash? He was already in a desperate situation. Did he need courage? What he needed was a damn solution. In his mental turmoil, he turned his head to look at the refrigerator sitting in the corner of the control room. A white-grade accessory. One of the 17 craftable accessories when a train is at level 1, maxing out at level 2. He had also crafted a few to put in his train. This was perfectly normal. Even though he had never upgraded a refrigerator to the stage where it had a super effect, he could roughly guess. The level 5 or level 10 super effect of a refrigerator was having a 100 square meter space. That wasn't hard to understand. Upgrading from a refrigerator to a cold storage room made perfect sense. But the problem was, it's a refrigerator. It's an individual accessory. It's not like upgrading one to level 10 automatically upgrades the rest. He had seen with his own eyes at least 70 or 80 refrigerators with such massive spaces. Just how many Murphy stones would that cost? How could anyone get their hands on that many Murphy stones? Does this even make sense? Murphy stones were special items that could break level caps. Of course, even when using a Murphy stone, you still had to pay the full resource cost for each upgrade. In the green zones, this item was incredibly rare. Otherwise, the leaderboard for the number of super effects in the Shea plains wouldn't be so fiercely competitive. Basically, from first place to 100th place, the gap wasn't that big. Only gold-grade vehicle accessories could be upgraded to level 5 to generate a super effect. And the number of gold accessories each person had didn't vary by much. A disparity of this magnitude shouldn't exist. Wait a minute. The bald man suddenly stood up straight, a thought flashing through his mind, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had once seen a level 2 train in the Kunlun Mountains area. That train could move freely on a nearly 90-degree vertical cliff, which had shocked him to his core. At the time, he had guessed whether the other party had used a massive amount of Murphy stones to upgrade their spider leg accessories to a very high level. But thinking about it, it was too unrealistic. Those were Murphy stones. What kind of big shot would be willing to give away this kind of resource to help someone else? Even for their own flesh and blood, it didn't make sense. Wouldn't keeping them on their own train be safer? But now, these two trains shared a common trait. They both consumed a massive amount of Murphy stones. Could they be the same train? The man frowned, recalling for a long time before shaking his head. It can't be the same one. The train in the Kunlun Mountains back then had 2 open carriages at the back. Plus, it didn't have that many machine guns. Right. Even though time was too tight back then for him to observe the inside closely, The 10 heavy machine guns mounted on the ceiling of the maze carriage had left an extremely deep impression. He was a level 5 train with over 600 slaves on board, but he had never thought of mounting 10 heavy machine guns pointing straight inside the carriage. Just how terrified was this guy of a slave rebellion? Even if he was scared, one gun would be enough. Why would he need 10? Was he afraid he couldn't kill them fast enough? Based on the maze and what he had observed, he quickly sketched an image of this train's captain in his mind. Extremely insecure, extreme and tyrannical toward slaves, causing constant rebellions, forcing him to suppress them with violence. Possesses a massive amount of Murphy stones. Enjoys toying with others. Unfathomably scheming. The bald man shook his head, trying to calm himself down. He picked up the badge he had just thrown on the table and pinned it back on his chest. What a pity. I don't know which area the other party is in. It'd be great if they were in one of the white zones near the Sheikh Plains. His mission failed, which meant the other party's S-rank mechanical class advancement mission had succeeded. When they entered the green zone of the Sheikh Plains, that person would become the first, and the only person he knew of to possess an S-rank potential mechanical train in the Sheikh Plains. By then, he would definitely know the name of that train. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but grin widely. If they really crossed paths in the Sheikh Plains, then don't blame him for bullying the weak. Even with S-rank potential, it was still just a level 3 train. At most, it had just upgraded to level 4. And he was a level 5 train. Using a level 5 train to crush a level 4 train. Was there really absolutely no chance of winning? The smile on the man's face instantly vanished. He stood frozen in place, expressionless. A train that upgraded even its refrigerators that much, would it really not upgrade its other accessories? Furthermore, after completing the S-rank mechanical class advancement mission, they would also receive a red-grade weapon of mass destruction. No matter how he thought about it, there was absolutely no chance of winning. Does a Murphy stone vein really not exist? Very quickly, the AI's mechanical electronic voice echoed in the carriage. Murphy stones belong to the special item category. They can only be obtained from special encounters or by killing rare bosses. They do not form or veins. This is the information in my current database. However, when you come into contact with new keywords or enter higher level areas, my database may be updated. If there are no Murphy stone veins, then how did he upgrade so many refrigerators? Did he use a hack? This is a real-life apocalypse, not an online game. The concept of a hack does not exist. True. Meanwhile, Li Shiji was cleaning up the maze. Looking at the robot kneeling on the ground, he couldn't help but sigh in pity. If only you had taken one more step. He stepped forward and opened the nearest refrigerator. An A4 piece of paper slowly fluttered out. On it were 3 clear sentences. Actually, the real finish line is right on the first floor. When you entered the maze, there was a refrigerator placed against the wall on the far left of the entrance. That refrigerator is the finish line. You fool. Actually, the finish line was right at the starting point. If the robot had taken one more step back then, opened the fridge, and seen these words, it would have been very interesting. As for the authenticity of those 3 sentences, they were fake, of course. The first floor only had 11 refrigerators in total. There was no finish line at all. But for someone who had reached this point, if the robot possessed human thinking, it would be 80% on the verge of a mental breakdown. Its cognitive abilities, judgment, and even memory of the environment would be severely impaired. Upon seeing these 3 sentences, it might even alter its own memories. It would paint a picture in its mind that right when it entered the maze, there really seemed to be a refrigerator placed against the left wall. Even if it had observed the entire space beforehand, as long as it had human thinking, it would highly likely start doubting itself. By the time the countdown only had a few minutes left, it would run back to the first floor and find nothing on the left. The feeling of collapse at that moment would reach its absolute peak. It's just a pity that this robot's mental fortitude was a bit weak. Many setups hadn't even been triggered yet. Li Shiji shook his head, then placed the robot into a refrigerator and began packing up the entire maze. Limited by the rules and having too few items, many plans in his head couldn't be executed. Otherwise, he would have powered all the refrigerators, lowered the temperature to the minimum, and filled them with water to freeze before activating them. Even a robot would have slipped and fallen a few times. If he had a projector, it definitely would have been even more fun. On the planetary, inside the control room, I sat in my chair, looking at the transparent virtual control panel that appeared before me. Congratulations! The planetary has successfully completed the S-rank difficulty class advancement mission and officially advanced to the mechanical train class. You are the first captain in the Sheikh Plains to complete the S-rank difficulty class advancement mission. Your unknown accessory will be of red grade, and it will be randomly drawn from the pool of red grade large-scale heavy weapon accessories. Drawn, red grade vehicle accessory, earth-shattering missile. Right after, at the top of the train screen, a line of text surrounded by a golden frame slowly scrolled by, while fireworks bloomed around the screen. At the same time, a voice echoed in the minds of all captains in the Sheikh Plains. Sheikh Plains Regional Announcement. Congratulations to the planetary for successfully completing the S-rank difficulty mechanical train class advancement mission, becoming the first mechanical train in the Sheikh Plains to complete this mission. I gaped at the 3D holographic image of the red-grade, earth-shattering missile accessory on the screen. It took me a moment to snap back to reality. I immediately consumed 1 unit of iron ore to craft it, while simultaneously crafting an additional open carriage. Among the 12 craftable accessories of a level 3 train, the unknown accessory only reveals itself after completing the class advancement mission. And regardless of its grade, the crafting cost is always 1 unit of iron ore. Right after, I left the control room and walked briskly to the back of the train. Looking at the newly added open carriage, a missile nearly 8 meters long and over 2 meters wide was positioned at an angle inside, its nose pointing straight at the sky. Its entire body was black, with a white-rimmed nose cone and a touch of red in the center. It made the planetary, which was already domineering enough, look even more ruthless and tyrannical. If this earth-shattering missile were to strike, anything within its blast radius would be leveled. I stood in place, leaning on my cane, looking up at the earth-shattering missile pointing straight at the sky, occupying an entire open carriage. I quietly admired the sight before me. The rain had stopped. A ray of sunlight pierced through a gap in the dark clouds, shining perfectly straight onto the missile, as if bestowing upon it a noble mission. Amidst the dark ruins of the apocalypse, it became so sacred and dazzling that once you looked at it, it was hard to look away. Excellent. I curled my lips slightly, looked down, and pulled a cigarette from my leather case. I lit it and slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. All the frustration and insecurity I had felt since transmigrating to this apocalyptic world seemed to vanish with the smoke. When the cigarette burned out, I tapped my finger lightly on my cane. The earth-shattering missile was slowly retracted into the open carriage by the lifting platform. From the outside, that carriage just looked like a normal one, not even armored yet. I strode back inside the train. This carriage would definitely be armored, and it would become my official 14th carriage. The carriage previously used to set up the maze, once Li Shurji finished dismantling it, would be swallowed by the earth core furnace. Sitting in the driver's cabin, I looked at the data for the earth-shattering missile on the screen. Currently, it was at level 1. It couldn't deal damage to level 2 monsters. This was one of the fundamental rules of this apocalyptic world. A level gap meant damage would be completely suppressed, effectively reducing it to 0. But if I upgraded it to level 6 and dropped 1 on the Kunlun Mountains area, who knows what the effect would be? The level of a firepower accessory only determines its ability to break the armor of high-level monsters. Its actual destructive power depends on its grade and level. When a firepower accessory is upgraded, its power basically increases accordingly. For example, the Scythe Chariot, the Mud Clearer, the 40-barrel Cherry Blossom Rocket Launcher, or even the Tripod Heavy Machine Guns. Even though upgrading the heavy machine guns only increases their fire rate and range, not their direct power, the corresponding ammo production line, once upgraded, can produce high-level ammo with greater destructive force. At the same level, a firepower accessory with a higher grade is definitely stronger. For example, if the Scythe Chariot and the earth-shattering missile were both at level 10, the power of the former couldn't even compare to the latter. The Scythe Chariot, based on the fundamental rules, could break armor and deal damage to a level 10 boss. But it would only stop at breaking armor. The specific damage still depends on the accessory's power. Against a real level 10 boss, it often wouldn't even be enough to scratch an itch. I took a deep breath. Most importantly, since the earth-shattering missile is a surface-to-surface missile, as long as I know the target's coordinates, I can launch it from afar for a precision strike. Its long-range strike radius is 20 times that of the detection radar. My radar currently has a range of 10,000 meters, which means I can hit a target up to 200,000 meters away. The fact that it only cost me 1 unit of iron ore to craft this missile was thanks to the perks of the class advancement mission. Under normal production, a single level 1 earth-shattering missile would require 10,000 units of copper ore. I glanced at the upgrade cost. To upgrade this accessory to level 2, nearly 50,000 units of iron ore. The most expensive price I've ever seen. Other red-grade accessories, like the wheel replacement system or the earth core furnace, required far less iron ore in their early upgrade stages. Let's go mine some ore first. By now, Li Shiji had finished clearing the maze. That carriage was temporarily still attached to the train, not yet dismantled. Upgrading to a level 4 train requires 18 carriages. My current carriage count isn't enough, so I'll have to craft a few normal carriages later to make up the difference. If I detach it now and let the earth core furnace swallow it, I'll just have to craft another one later, accidentally wasting 50 units of iron ore. Even though it's not much, you can't live wastefully like that. Save wherever you can. I slowly pushed the throttle. The gears rumbled, the engines roared, and the train began to accelerate slowly, advancing deep into the Sheikh Plains. After that, I'll continue upgrading the earth-shattering missile and that open carriage. Right now, I only have a little over 250,000 units of iron ore left. I still have quite a bit of copper ore, totaling 710,000 units. Within half an hour, my expression gradually turned ugly. High-level ores in the green zone were indeed more plentiful. Along the way, I had encountered 3 level 2 iron ore veins, 2 of which were located 1,000 meters deep underground. But all 3 veins already had owners. There were trains parked next to them, mining away. Even the 2 deep underground veins were no exception. In the white zone, my train was the only one with a drill accessory, so the iron ore was practically mine alone, with no one to fight over it. But moving to the green zone, quite a few people had entered the Kunlun Mountains to hunt monsters like rhinos to obtain this drill accessory. This made even the underground quite bustling. After traveling for another 20 minutes, I let out a sigh. Finally, I spotted 2 level 2 iron ore veins sitting side by side, located 5,000 meters deep underground straight ahead. My brows relaxed. My luck wasn't too bad yet. Upgrading the train to level 4 would cost 100,000 units of iron ore. I currently had enough, but I didn't dare use it all. I still had to save a portion as a reserve for things like food or crafting mechanical nanospiders if accessories suddenly broke during combat, or crafting energy stones. This is just like human life. Your spending power doesn't actually depend on the money you currently have, but on your expected future income. Only when I was parked right next to these 2 level 2 iron ore veins and started mining would I truly have the confidence to consume the train's iron ore reserves. Without hesitation, I immediately took action. The giant drill slowly extended from the front of the train and began spinning at high speed. Like the spirit of a rhino possessing it, it quickly bored out a short, temporary tunnel. And the train plunged straight deep underground, aiming directly for those 2 level 2 iron ore veins. Right at that moment, I frowned slightly. The detection radar showed that at a distance of over 9,000 meters, another level 4 train was also aiming for these 2 underground ore veins. It was moving slowly underground, its speed much slower than mine. My speed could reach 170 kilometers per hour, while the other party was only doing a little over 60. I glanced at the detailed information displayed on the control screen. Unidentified level 4 mechanical train. Total of 19 carriages. Accessories include level 3 blue-grade steel armor covering all carriages, level 2 gold-grade energy shield covering all carriages, and 6 blue-grade hellfire mechanical cannons. All of them were level 5. The only thing not displayed was probably just the other party's money. This was the super effect of the level 10 detection radar. As long as a train entered its range, all its accessories and levels were completely seen through. I glanced at the screen, expressionless, and continued pushing the throttle. I had no intention of yielding. In fact, I secretly sped up a little more. Two trains, from two different directions, both charging toward the two underground iron ore veins. My speed was faster. A few minutes later, I arrived in front of the two level 2 iron ore veins in this cavern ahead of the other party. I breathed a sigh of relief. Speed really is an advantage. The rule on the wasteland is very simple. First come, first served. Just then, the radio on my train suddenly crackled with static. The screen flashed red, and a forced private chat notification popped up. I was just about to grab the walkie-talkie to assign tasks to old Zhu when I saw that text. I couldn't help but laugh. On the detection radar, the red dot representing that train was 3,000 meters away from me, crawling slowly underground. Clearly, the other party's radar range was only about 3,000 meters. Without hesitation, I pushed the throttle again. Underground, along the route that train was taking toward me, I charged straight at it, simultaneously dropping my speed to the slowest setting. Deep underground, inside that level 4 train, a man looked at the red dot rapidly approaching on his radar screen, his expression dark. What does this bastard mean? I told him to scram. Does he want to clash with me? He sneered. It's just a level 3 train. What makes him think he can take me on? Two level 2 iron ore veins weren't something a level 3 train should be meddling with anyway. Telling the other party to back off was only natural. Although he didn't understand why that train had such a fast underground speed, a flash of ruthlessness still crossed his eyes. Watching the red dot get closer and closer, he sneered. Remember this well. In the Sheikh Plains, the weak are born to be ruthlessly humiliated. Losing your mind to anger is just seeking death. Right after, a faint blue light shield enveloped his entire train. On the roof of the carriages, the 6 Hellfire mechanical cannons began to spin slowly, warming up their barrels, ready to unleash a ferocious attack at any moment. And that red dot had drawn closer than ever. The next moment, the earth and rocks ahead suddenly shattered. Countless fragments flew out as a train with a high-speed drill burst through the ground, charging straight at him. The man narrowed his eyes, a vicious smile just blooming. As expected, even with an energy shield. But instantly, a dull explosion rang out. As the two trains collided violently underground, the man's eyes suddenly filled with terror. He shot up from his chair. Almost the instant the two high-speed drills touched, his drill shattered on the spot. And the energy shield covering his entire train, the moment it was touched by my drill, instantly developed countless cracks, standing on the verge of shattering. How is this possible? His level 3 armor plus his level 2 energy shield equaled 5 levels of defense. Yet, when facing my drill, it showed signs of shattering the very moment they touched. But at this moment, he had no time to think. The 6 level 5 Hellfire mechanical cannons on the roof began to spin rapidly. At the same time, the copper ore in the train's storage rapidly depleted. Countless bullets, trailing thick orange-red smoke, completely engulfed the train ahead. 3 seconds later, the man looked expectantly toward the tunnel obscured by gunpowder smoke. That train must have blown up by now, right? But right after, as the energy shield covering the outside of that train completely shattered, the train itself pierced through the smoke screen almost entirely unscathed, ramming straight into his train. In the final moment before losing consciousness, he saw his locomotive's armor offer almost no resistance against the high-speed drill. Then, a piece of armor flew off and pierced straight into his chest. The man sitting at the control panel looked down at the armor fragment impaled in his chest. His gaze gradually lost focus, until his consciousness completely faded away. If. Unfortunately, there are no ifs. Crash. I pushed the throttle almost all the way down. The engines roared fiercely, only stopping when the drill was completely embedded in the front of the other train. Then, I reversed the train a short distance, leisurely lit a cigarette, and put it in my mouth, and grabbed the walkie-talkie. The collective boarding ramp is open. Biaozi, take your men and bring back all the survivors, along with all the accessories and anything else you can dismantle from that train. Understood. Very quickly, 30 guards dressed in black combat uniforms, led by Biaozi, holding soaring dragon assault rifles, jumped out of the carriage and sprinted toward the train lying deep in the tunnel. One by one, they climbed into the completely destroyed locomotive. Right after that, shouts rang out nonstop. Don't move. Hands on your heads. 20 minutes later, Biaozi returned after completing the mission cleanly, bringing back 400 survivors and a pile of supplies. All the supplies were temporarily loaded into a freezer car. That train had no detachable parts left. Everything that could be taken was stripped clean, leaving only an empty shell. Normally, when a train captain dies in battle, everyone on that train, whether mercenaries or slaves, won't put up a fight. In the apocalypse, to put it bluntly, people just rely on each other to survive. No one is loyal enough to willingly die with their captain. The guy is already dead. Switching to another train to keep living is the only logical choice. Besides, any train capable of crushing their original one is definitely stronger and safer. But nothing in this world is absolute. If the captain had relatives or children seeking revenge, it would still be extremely dangerous. That's why Miaozi and the others worked with extreme caution, not wanting to trip up over a careless mistake during the search. This entire group of survivors was temporarily locked in 2 freezer cars, waiting for a thorough inspection. Once we confirmed there were no direct relatives of the captain, we'd figure out what to do with them. After everyone returned to the train, I pushed the joystick again, retracting the drill. At the same time, I spent 11,000 units of iron ore to upgrade the earth core furnace to level 4 and activated it. The train slowly moved forward, and the giant maw made of countless gears gradually opened. With every step forward, the damaged body of that level 4 train continuously shortened. The ear-piercing screech of gears crushing iron armor echoed through the tunnel. A minute later, only my planetary-class train remained in the cave. I immediately shifted the drill to another direction, turning the joystick to plunge it into the side of the tunnel, preparing to loop back to the 2 level 2 iron ore mines. This time, the world finally fell quiet again. The control screen clearly displayed that by devouring that level 4 train, I had gained a total of 70,000 units of iron ore. Not bad at all. I chuckled in satisfaction. The drill continued to crush the rock layer ahead. The train entered the cave, slowed down, and came to a halt next to the 2 level 2 iron ore mines. 70,000 units of iron ore. That's equivalent to half a level 2 iron ore mine. As expected of a level 4 train. The amount of iron ore harvested is way more than when I devoured Kuan-ji's train head back then. The earth core furnace yields different amounts of iron ore depending on the parts it devours. For example, swallowing one of my own standard train cars only returns 50 units of iron ore. That's basically a 50% refund. Swallowing ruined cars or other parts yields much less. But hey, it's free loot anyway, so that's good enough. Most importantly, this train had quite a stockpile of resources inside. 120,000 units of iron ore, 40,000 units of copper ore, 3,700 units of wood, 120,000 units of spider silk, 1 special item, 2 blueprints, along with some rifles and ammo, 16 cartons of cigarettes, 2 bottles of baijiu, and 3 pork rib sausages. There was even a fat pig weighing several hundred pounds frozen in the fridge, plus all sorts of daily necessities scavenged from the city ruins. The old saying is really true. I stood outside the train in the cave, listening to the babbling of the underground stream, the headlights illuminating the entire space. I took the inventory list from Biaozi, a wave of emotion washing over my face as I let out a soft sigh.